yourself.
Yeah, I appreciate you doing that.
I did. I did as much as I could to give you space.
You gave him the stage.
I gave him the stage. I gave him the stage and he took it. Now, I will say that was pretty good.
I appreciate it.
Considering what we all expected, that was pretty good.
I mean, I know that I'm not a good singer, but for the purposes of the wager payoff, I wanted to ensure that I just owned those 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Right? So that's why I learned the words. I listened to the song several times. I even watched the halftime show so that I could do the gyrations, so I could do the hand movements and such. So, look, I was very, very nervous. It went better than I expected, but not quite as good as I would have liked.
I would say you could do it again, but there's no way we're allowing that. How do you think your wife is going to react to this? I assume Lizzie is watching right now.
I'm sure she's horrified because she's never seen me do some of those movements, ever. I mean, she knows I have a bad voice, but I don't think she knew my body does any of those things. I think that will be her biggest takeaway.
I don't want to dive into that.
No, me neither. I think you've just taken this to an area.
No, you asked an honest question.
No, I'm asking
you an honest answer.
You just took it higher.
Isn't Take Me Higher, isn't that about like going to heaven? Isn't that what the song is actually about?
It is. It's a Christian rock band.
So
Can you take me higher? Oh, God.
Yeah, that's how it sounded without the music.
Yeah, so the music obscured what I thought. It was much worse than I thought.
Here's what I'll say. We had 3 people have to sing songs to pay off a show bet. All 3 of us, I think, did pretty good. Bubba nailed Fly Eagles Fly, and I think Hembo and I put up respectable
Let's rank our 3 performances then.
Yours is third.
No doubt.
Yeah.
His is the hardest song by far.
Yeah, but
Bubba was basically chanting.
True. You didn't have a chance because A, you had the hardest song, and B, you have the least talent.
Right. So if you graded me on a curve.
You think Bubba is a better singer than Hembo?
I do.
I do not.
Yeah.
I think Bubba's got sort of like a Stubby K kind of Nathan Detroit-esque quality about him. I could see him singing, Luck Be a Lady Tonight. That's Sky, of course, who sings that. But I could see him doing like a lounge kind of singing thing. Hembo, I could only see him singing like the Numbers songs from Sesame Street. He likes...
ESPN Northwest Florida. The Afternoon Underdogs.
There was only 2 teams that could go. It was Oklahoma and Florida State went, but Miami had beat Florida State that year.
Right.
And the FSU fans conveniently forget that part.
Yeah, I forgot something that happened when I was 7 years old. I appreciate that call, Stan.
Yeah.
4 to 6 weekdays. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good afternoon. This is Joanna on ESPN Northwest Florida with your forecast on this Tuesday. Partly cloudy skies the remainder of the day with a gentle breeze out of the northeast at 11 miles per hour and look for it to be 62. Tonight, there will be some clouds with the temperature reaching 45. Partly cloudy tomorrow with a wind around 14 miles per hour and the high of 61. Thursday will have a high of 61 and mostly clouds. This weather is brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Hi, folks. It's Tracy from Tracy's Fine Jewelry. Santa called and he asked me to help everyone get ready for Christmas and avoid the stress and rush. So we've stocked the store and slashed the prices on all diamond jewelry. Whether you're looking for a certified diamond, wedding set, diamond stud earrings, or tennis bracelet, Tracy's Fine Jewelry has the best selection of diamond jewelry you'll find anywhere. And they're all on sale now at 30 to 50% off. From stocking stuffers to extra special surprises, shop where Santa shops. Tracy's Fine Jewelry inside Coin and Bullion Reserves.
The sounds of is everywhere, and the cooler weather is back a little now and then. So that means it's time for a trip to that boot store to outfit the whole family in their favorite Western wear for that colder weather on the way. And if you need quality work clothes, check out the large selection of Carhartt work clothes, boots, and shoes available at that boot store, open Tuesday through Thursday, 9 till 5, and Friday and Saturday, 9 till 5:30, next to Billboard Kia, 15th Street in Panama City. Remember, God is good all the time.
At Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle, you can find all the necessary items for an unforgettable fishing experience. From pin rods and reels to the best hand-tied rigs in Florida, we have it all. With the help of our friendly and knowledgeable staff, you can be sure that you have the right gear to make that big catch. Come experience a great local bait and tackle shop located directly off 98 on the west end of Panama City Beach, located just 5 miles west of Pier Park.
The strength of America, our values,
Our way of life hasn't just been won on the battlefield. It's won every day in our communities when we come together, extending hands of compassion, service, and hope to those who need it most. For over 100 years, the American Legion has been strengthening communities across our nation by providing life-saving help and support to our veterans and neighbors during times like we're facing today. It's what the Legion's all about. From blood drives to distributing food, from responding to emergencies and protecting the most vulnerable among us. Our mission is making America's communities stronger.
We are one family, and therefore we care.
We are the American Legion, veterans strengthening America. To learn how you can help, visit legion.org.
Technology can make our lives more fun, but when tech is used for cyberbullying, children's lives can be damaged. Peter and Amanda Como found good communication protects their kids.
I would suggest go to jw.org. The resources there are just practical.
Their 16-year-old son picked up tips to help if he was bullied.
Oh, you could use humor. You could just not listen. It'll dissolve the situation.
To find more tips and tools to protect your child from cyberbullying, look to stopbullying.gov or search bullying on jw.org.
Your home for Auburn Tiger basketball. WGSX Lynn Haven. WVLQ Port St. Joe.
ESPN Northwest Florida, War Eagle.
Are you ready?
Okay, let's begin.
Trip. The Afternoon Underdog Trip. Live and local. Inside the Talk House.
Unleash the dragon.
I'm the Sports Talk Monster. ESPN Northwest Florida.
What's going on, Northwest Florida? You are now riding with the Afternoon Underdogs, tuned in to ESPN Northwest Florida, 104.3 here in Panama City, 101.9 in Port St. Joe. I'm David Hayes, along with Tyler Bishop and Caveman Rick. Hopefully you're enjoying your Tuesday afternoon. Not a whole lot. You just mentioned something while we were getting ready to come in that this time of the year is kind of boring or whatever. And I was just sitting here thinking, like, there's not, outside of the Shohei Ohtani, you had two great Monday Night Football games. But, yeah, it kind of hits a little standstill, and then bowl season starts unraveling. You get to the midst of that. And then you get to the national championship, and then it really kind of hits an abrupt halt as far as college football goes. But you still got the NFL playoffs there.
NFL's going. You kind of hit a weird lull, like, I don't know if it's a lull, but like a mid-season thing where some of the teams you thought were better than they were kind of start either, they drop a game maybe they shouldn't, or, kind of like Miami, Tennessee last night, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people, they were a 2-touchdown dog. I actually had money on Titans straight up winning that one. And,
no way.
But I bet the under because, that's a whole different thing. But I thought it would kind of be like an ugly slugfest and whatever. But I got half right. You don't get paid for half right.
No.
But no, it's kind of that one of the weird time of the year where like, especially between injuries, we've got so many quarterback injuries, Justin Jefferson, guys like that getting hurt that it's an odd time of year. And, then teams start getting kind of healthy and making that playoff push and it kind of like ramps up. And I feel like it's an odd time for football as a sport.
Last night was awesome, though.
Yeah.
Last night was awesome. It is one of those. It is a little bit odd, but still got a lot of great football coming up upon us. And with the Titans last night getting that win, man, they're only 3 games back of the AFC South Division leader right now in the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I think they got to play them twice coming up. And we'll dive into more of those Monday Night Football games here in just a few short moments. We should have Max Delighten in the building with us here shortly at 4:20 today. We're going to dive into your minute with Max Delighten. Then we'll play a little trivia for your opportunity to win $25 to not the, but that boot store and a 12-pack of Buffalo Rock. Top of hour number 2, we'll dive into not a whole lot going on in the college football world, so I figure maybe we'll go over the all-transfer team and look at there's a lot of names on that list.
The transfer portal's a wild thing. Like it's hard between recruiting and transferring, like, NIL with recruiting and transferring, like it's almost gotten to the point now, like, even as an avid football fan and, like, follower of how Georgia builds their roster, typically, like, it's just hard to pay that much attention until we get a little bit closer to the season. Like, all right, who's actually going to be here next year? Who's actually not? Like, it used to be like, okay, this guy, he may have redshirted this year, but he's definitely here next year, And now it's just become so wild anymore. It's hard to, like, really focus on it until it gets to June, July, August when guys start practicing. Be like, okay, these guys are definitely going to be here this year.
Well, the all-transfer team is actually something that I found on The Athletic that had to do with this last season that we just played. So teams or guys who had transferred from one school to the other, and what makes that almost all-American but all-transfer status, as Max DeLayden joins us this afternoon, and I'm sure he's got a lot to talk about with Shohei Ohtani signing with the Dodgers. I'm sure he's interested in that deal as well and how it all played out, but we'll save that for 420 this afternoon.
I'm interested to hear not only his tape, but maybe like kind of explain it a little bit more in layman's terms for a non-baseball, non-financial guy. Like the whole, like I'm looking at it, it's like, what?
Lots of money. Long time,
a while
and the
now.
Contract even lots of money now and lots of money later, but even more so money later. While we go over some, we'll go over some of the scores here from last night from the area. Port St. Joe got the win over Wakulla Christian. Doesn't have a score here. This is boys high school basketball, but it does say 1-0 according to Max Prep. So that was a very entertaining basketball game. As Graceville took down Vernon 60-31. Laurel Hill beat LEAD Academy 82-72. Bluntstown over Wakulla 66-62. Lincoln beat Franklin County 69-43, and it was Ponce de Leon over Houston County 42-41. The basketball games for tonight. You've got Bozeman hosting Holmes County at 6:45. Malone will be hosting Cottondale at 7 p.m. Graceville hosting Poplar Springs at 7 p.m. Big one here for Panama City. Rutherford hosting Arnold at 7 p.m. Franklin County hosts Mosley at 7. And we've got Bay hosting South Walton at 7:30. In girls high school basketball, the scores from last night: Liberty County over Weewah 49-28. Holmes County beat Bozeman 54-13. It was Walton over North Bay Haven Academy 61-42, and Mosley beat Port St. Joe 47-19. And the scores for this evening: we'll have Mosley hosting Mariana at 6, Chipley hosting Ponce de Leon at 6 p.m., Holmes County hosting Enterprise at 6:45, and that'll do it there for our girls high school basketball. And we'll go over to girls soccer, and just as luck would have it, the good old ad blocker is distracting me or disrupting us from our girls soccer games. Normally I try to print these off because of this very reason, but today we've had a lot going on here at the station. Freeport beat Rutherford in girls soccer. That was 3-0. You had Choctaw losing to South Walton 5-1. Niceville takes down Fort Walton Beach 3-0. And in boys high school soccer from last night, that'll give me the scores for today. From last night, Arnold in a big-time clash with Bay. Arnold gets the best of them 3-0. North Bay Haven shuts out Navarre 5-0. Niceville over Fort Walton Beach 1-0. And Franklin County over Bozeman 8-1. Choctaw took down Mosley 7-0. And Freeport beat Rutherford 4-1. We've got some games for tonight in boys high school soccer. North Bay Haven hosting Crestview at 6 p.m. And Milton hosting Freeport. Shout out Randy Williams. Milton hosting Freeport at 6 p.m. Walton hosting Destin at 7 p.m. All right, Max, what'd you think of the double game last night, Monday Night Football? Is that something that the NFL should pursue moving forward, or do you like it when they stagger them by about an hour or so?
Back and forth. I kind of liked it. I like how they had the small box too. I mean, if it was split screen, I would have been okay with it too. But obviously, you want to monetize both networks. I thought it was great. It worked out great for them too. Just that both games ended up being awesome. Two great fourth quarter comebacks in totally different fashions. I like that they had the live update too of the game ticker. I thought that was great. It made you want to switch back and forth. Obviously, I was looking at my app too. I'm sure we all had fantasy implications one way or the other. So
I had a lot of fantasy implications last night, but the two that meant the most were already out of hand by the time that Monday came around. So
well, I got super nervous because I needed Devon. How do you say Achane?
Achane.
I needed him. Achane. I always get Achane.
Yeah,
I needed him not to get 15 points. And once they went up 27-13 and it was back-to-back Mostert touchdowns, I was like, sweet. They'll just keep pounding it with him. We're good. And then they had a final drive and Tua kept dumping off screens to him. And I was like, dude, stop. But it's all right. Because it was, if I won, I was the 1 seed. If I lost, I was the 4 seed. So it's a huge slide. But shout out Aubrey, 23 points, my biggest score this week. So,
the kicker from Dallas?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Dude, 60 and 59. How crazy was that?
And one of them was like a no-doubter. It was like good for like 68 or something.
And he's a rookie.
It makes you think maybe kicking's not that hard if you play soccer.
If you play soccer. And they talked a little bit about his story on Sunday Night Football, right? Yeah.
He's like a computer coder programmer.
Yeah, that's
cool.
That is really cool stuff, man. And to end up being able to kick in the NFL, being one of 32 reality kickers in the NFL, even if it's just for a short little bit. But yeah, that's a cool story.
And he's probably the best one this year. I mean, Justin Tucker is obviously the guy you want taking the kick in the hand, but he makes a pretty compelling point now. And Jake Elliott's right there too at the Eagles. So it's cool to see two kickers who actually contribute and don't mess it up, do their job.
I mean, and how often do these games come down to kicking? Now, I mean, the game last night. The Giants game did come down to it.
Strangle Bullock.
Well, yesterday on the Inside Drive, we were talking about the new analytical trend, right? Where if you're down by 14, if you score that first touchdown to go down by a touchdown, go for 2 rather than kicking the field goal. And I think in some cases that works. In other cases, whatever. I mean, it's all up to the head coach and how he feels the momentum is. I just think that it works out better when you're a team. If you're in that position, a team as an underdog. If you're a team that's matching up like that, let's say the spread was 3 points or whatever, and the mentality is the same, and the implications for both teams moving forward are the same, and the hunger is the same, then I think you kick the extra point right there, because the scoring could be that close, and you don't want to have to go for 2 at the end of the game to be able to tie it up if you can kick the extra point. But back to your point, kicking is Tom Brady, you can't give him some of those Super Bowls. He doesn't have a fistful of Super Bowl rings without a great kicker, without a great defense, without everything. Do the Kansas City Chiefs, I know that we're going way off topic with this, but now the Chiefs, I was going to save this for your minute with Max, but how are we feeling about Patrick Mahomes now? We were just bragging 3 weeks ago about the Kansas City Chiefs defense. Now, of course, they got Patrick Mahomes, and no one's going to take anything away from that, but do the Chiefs all the way around? They got Harrison Butker, but do you think that this year the Chiefs could miss the conference championship?
I think they'll still find a way. They always do, but they are definitely taking the repercussions of having no good wide receivers. I mean, Rashee Rice is good, but outside of that, like Kadarius Toney's cost him 2 games. Marquez has cost him a game now. I feel bad for him. Their receivers are basically like, you remember when we were growing up and you had people soliciting at your doorway?
Yeah.
Like the encyclopedia salesman or knife sharpener. That's like their receivers. That's their future employments. Like they should not be in the league. Kadarius Toney's terrible. MVS always dropped passes for the Packers. I was sad to see him leave Green Bay.
They've got a bunch of guys you shouldn't mind filling out like your 3rd, 4th, 5th slot with, but they probably not guys that should be your 1, 2.
Yeah.
And I think that's what, I mean, and maybe Rashee Rice is that guy. He has flashed a little bit as a rookie.
I think Rashee Rice will be back there next year.
Oh, yeah. Well, he's on a rookie deal. He's good. Sky Moore.
Well, not just that, just saying, I mean, more than likely, a few of them are going to be back next year just because of the way that things work out.
It took so long for granted, like Travis Kelce being the guy in Kansas City. Like the fact that he hasn't had the season that we've come to expect from him. I mean, it's probably statistically one of his worst seasons in the last, 6-7 years.
Yeah.
So you add him dropping off and not picking up the slack for those lesser guys, which we haven't seen. Last year he kind of picked up that slack. The year before that, even when they haven't had Tyreek, he's picked up that slack. So when he's not, they just don't have any other difference makers at those positions, and we're seeing what's happening.
Yeah, man, that is it's wild to see when quarterbacks are throwing it right to their receivers, and you know what I mean, because you really can't blame it on Patrick Mahomes. And I know that Caveman Rick has brought up the fact, like, looking dejected. Do y'all have any issue with not just his actions, but then following up with the apology and all of that? Like, do you have any issue with how he handled the whole situation?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to say no, based on the fact that, him and Andy Reid were on the same page as far as, this is the way this rule is typically called. Dan Orlovsky came out and said this is the way this rule is typically called. There's been other guys, not Chiefs related, that have come out and said, this is typically kind of the way it goes. So, if that's the way it is, I have no problem with them kind of being pissed about it, to call it in that situation if that's kind of out of the standard operating procedure. And the fact that there was a stat out there that was his first offense, or that was Andy Reid's first offensive offside penalty in his career.
Wow.
Kind of leads credence to the fact that Andy Reid probably knows what he's talking about when it comes to the rule. And that, I get, like, obviously he was offsides. But, like, if that's the way the rule's called, like, I don't blame them for... I mean, it's a clear penalty, but if that's the way it's called, that's the way it's normally called.
What about Bradbury when, he's tugging on people's jerseys in the Super Bowl? I don't see, Mahomes complaining about that call.
Yeah, nobody cares when the calls go for you. I mean, nobody's going to complain. Like, it only matters if they go against you. And it only matters if a team loses. Like, if the Chiefs win that game, nobody really cares about that call.
Yep.
If the Eagles win, nobody really cares about it.
Except for the Bills.
Oh, yeah. That's,
and they did have plenty of... They did have, at least, at the bare minimum, 4 more plays after that. Sorry, Max.
No, you're fine. That call's been made... I think I saw 11 times this year, and they called it. Didn't they call it in the Eagles-Cowboys game once too?
The first game, I believe so. Maybe you're right about that.
I think it was on Kelsey, or it was on the right guard or left guard.
I'm thinking Kelsey.
Yeah,
because I wonder if they were like, you got to call it this game. Like, please watch it, so it's not brought up that it was the only call from the weekend. But it is the rule. It's stupid. I understand. Like,
I don't know if it's stupid.
Well, like, I mean. It's stupid from all parties. Like, they broke the rule. That's a penalty. It's the right call.
Right.
To Kadarius Toney, most wide receivers look at the ref and look where they're lined up. He obviously has the IQ of a doorknob because he's made so many bad plays this year. That's on him. And I don't know how he is not cut already for what he's done to that team.
Yeah. Well, Andy Reid said he's going to keep on trusting him.
Well, and Mahomes, like, yes and no. I understand people getting mad at him. Like, that was his first time he's ever really snapped. Like, he's always very cool as a cucumber, I'd say, like level-headed.
But he's always won, and he's always had, like, winning records.
That's
this
true.
is the first time he's actually faced adversity, though.
Yeah, that's true, too. But I don't know, I kind of like the emotion. Like, I like the raw emotion, like, kind of going at the refs. Like, obviously, you shouldn't, treat anyone or, like, what he said to refs like that. But it was, I think it was more pent-up anger because he's like, all right, I'm leader for the team. I'm not going to go at my guys. I'm going to go at the refs. Like, I'm sure his team was behind him on it.
Let me ask this. I brought this up in the past week. Do we think that Taylor Swift is to the Kansas City Chiefs is what, like, Yoko Ono was to the Beatles, possibly?
I don't know.
Breaking up the band, maybe?
Her plus Brittany Mahomes is a real 1-2 punch of Yoko Ono.
I'm just saying, like, ever since she's come around, I don't know. The team's, like, took a turn for the worse.
Well, yeah, I mean, Travis Kelce made some interesting PR moves with his advertisers, and, you hate to see it.
Oh, I first
multiple.
Well, because he's done a lot of commercials. It's like from now.
Two very.
All of a sudden, out of nowhere, he just kind of like blew up, and it's coincidental timing, but it's just.
I don't think there's very much of too much of a coincidence.
Well, I mean, but he blew up like advertising right before the whole T-Swift, like the whole.
Yeah, but they were. But you got to think they were when that thing blew up. When they blew up, like there already had to been some. You know what I mean? Conversations that they've had behind closed doors, and if they were thinking about dating, then you'd think that.
But I don't know if like the ad execs are at Pfizer, like, oh, Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce are talking. Let's go ahead and sign.
No, but Travis Kelce didn't need Taylor Swift to build his brand like that. He already had Patrick Mahomes. Think about that commercial with him and State Farm and everything.
I was saying it was kind of coincidental that he came up on these, and then the Taylor Swift thing started. I thought that was the case.
Yeah. I mean, there could be that he got more popular through the media or whatever, and then she saw him or whatever.
The other way as opposed to.
Well, I'm really not talking about how they got together, but more or less that maybe she was like, "Hey, look, you've already got a brand and everything."
Power couple.
Yeah,
like Jay-Z and Beyonce.
That type of deal. Yeah.
Yeah, between showing Taylor Swift and Donna Kelsey while I'm watching football, I could really go without it.
Hey, Donna Kelsey's
according to
cool
Taylor
though,
Swift, we're Brad, Chad, or whatever, complaining about it.
We're having to watch, Bo Nix's parents every time he plays.
Yeah,
there you go.
It's not just the
Zach Edey's mom. She's tall.
Yeah, it's
shocker.
How tall?
What was it? Catherine Webb during that
She's
one.
She's like 6'8".
Oh, Catherine Webb, with AJ,
they got married, right?
Yeah, I think it's a thing.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, she was like Miss Alabama or something, right?
Yeah, something like that. It's time for us to take a break.
Asking like you don't know.
It's time for us to. We're gonna grill Max here in this next segment. The old lending lad from Allegiant, Max DeLyden. We'll be right back.
ESPN Northwest Florida. It's the Coach James Hale Show.
I got recruited in southern Mississippi. Cheaters, that's ignorant people speaking. But them big boys up front got popped in the mouth like they ain't used to.
Oh, yeah. And the south entrance where the team goes in at Tiger Walk, there is a statue of Pat Dye, Cliff Hare, and Shug Jordan.
Alabama people loved him too.
Weekday morning 7 to 9. ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good afternoon. This is Joanna on ESPN Northwest Florida with your forecast on this Tuesday. Partly cloudy skies the remainder of the day with a gentle breeze out of the northeast at 11 miles per hour and look for it to be 62. Tonight, there will be some clouds with the temperature reaching 45. Partly cloudy tomorrow with a wind around 14 miles per hour and the high of 61. Thursday will have a high of 61 and mostly clouds. This weather is brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Bill Bird Kia is giving you holiday savings during the season of giving back. Take your next holiday adventure in a brand new Kia. Now offering 1.9% APR up to 48 months on the purchase of a new 2023 Kia Sorento. You'll get the perfect balance of comfort, safety, and technology. Bill Bird Kia is the home of the 20-year, 200,000-mile warranty. Stop by and see us at 2435 East 15th Street or anytime at Bill Bird Kia, PanamaCity.com. We'll treat you like family and give you the peace of mind you can trust.
Offer from Kia Finance America for the purchase of a new 2023 Kia Sorento with $2,165 per month per 1,000 financed in 48 months. Quantities limited. No down payment required. Cannot be combined with other finance offers. The 20-year, 200,000-mile warranty is a Bill Bird Kia warranty. See dealer for complete details. Offer for well-qualified buyers. Must take delivery from dealer stock through 1/2/24.
Hot takes, the latest trades, in-depth interviews.
That is my reaction.
We break it down for you right here.
Very big springboard for the rest of my career.
The Afternoon Underdogs.
That's the problem right there.
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Welcome back into the Doghouse. You're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. I'm David Hayes along with Tyler Bishop, Max Delyden, and Caveman Rick. This is ESPN Northwest Florida. 104.3 here in Panama City, 101.9 in Port St. Joe. You can call or text us at 850-215-6290. We're streaming live on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Twitch. This is your Minute with Max. Max is a lending lad. Max, tell them where they can acquire your services.
Yeah, thanks, Dave.
You're welcome.
Springfield, 3535 East 3rd Street. For condos, homes, you name it, anything but land, we'll finance it. We don't do personal loans. That's for banks. 850-565-1160.
What about for $100?
Do you know, actually, we have maybe. Do you actually know a few of the people who are doing loans with me right now listen to our show?
Oh, really?
They text me, they're like, are you the same Max?
Nice. How about that?
So we got some good range across Bay County.
Yeah, shout out for trusting the Linden lads, man.
Yeah, William Crick, Hudson Rem, a bunch of guys where they're like Tide fans.
There we go. Roll Tide, man. Roll Tide.
So it's cool to see that,
Still don't. I wonder, how are they as Alabama fans? Are they on the fence that Alabama should have been in there, or or the committee should have picked Florida State? Call them out here live on the air.
Cody, I know, is from Alabama, so he's
last name along with. No, I'm just kidding.
Cody, address as of a couple days.
Yeah, social medias and social security.
No, he's from Alabama, so you're either split. You're Auburn or Bama. So he's ecstatic about it. The other guy, I haven't asked him too much about it, but I'm sure he's happy too. Because last time him and I were talking, Bama was right around when they were playing LSU. So things have pretty much trended up for the Tide since then.
Yeah, it's not hard to be excited about it. It's at all. It's just still one of those where it's like, man, you're still gonna. I still feel bad for Florida State to an extent. Yeah. I mean, not even to an extent. I do feel bad for them. I feel bad
for certain Florida State fans.
I don't care about the fans as much. The players.
The players I care for.
The players is the big thing because obviously a lot of the seniors and stuff not being like you go undefeated and it's just
FSU can join the Big Ten. We're taking good teams.
You know what a fun segment would be? I think I don't know how well it would go over radio. That's why I haven't really thought about it. And so until I put some deep thought into it, maybe we could try it. But taking the Power 5 and essentially making an NFL layout with it. So you would break them up into two conferences. You know how you have the American and the American and the National. All right. So instead, for college football sakes, you can call it the North and the South, because you know how we've been trying to break it down East and West. Well, that's impossible because we have so many. So I guess break it down North and South, if you will, and try to go at it that direction. I don't know. That would be. I think that would be interesting to try to do on the air, but you'd have to put a little bit of time into it. But on the Inside Drive today, Ryan asked us all a question to rank your top 3 teams. So of all your teams, pro, college, doesn't matter, but your top 3 teams. So I figured we'd start your minute with Max with that, kind of break the ice a little bit.
Teams
and
across
then,
all my fandom.
Does it all your fandom. So I took a guess for yours today. I took a guess for yours. I know, and I didn't even really think about all of your foreign soccer teams. No, because I would have guessed Cubs. I guessed Cubs, and then I went Blackhawks, and then I went Bears.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, are we doing just pro or
whatever you want to do? Yeah. Whatever you want to do.
I mean,
mine was Bama. Atlanta Lightning.
I don't even have to go now.
Well, think of another one then. Come up with another one while we.
No, yeah, and then it's like a tie between IU Hoops and Tottenham.
Yeah,
I like watching Tottenham a lot. Bulls I like. I mean, if they were good, it's good. But like the NBA for me, I'm not as into. I don't know.
We are going to have to talk NBA Cup though here in a second.
IST.
Right.
But I'm excited for the show. Hey, I was ready for that. I was like, I don't know how nerdy we want to go on it, but I got you.
All right, so we're gonna go nerdy. We're gonna put our glasses on here in just a second. Caveman Rick, your top 3 teams.
Wearing the shirt and the hat, Philadelphia Flyers.
So they would be number 1?
Yeah, that'd be number 1 if I had to pick one team and one only team that I can root for.
Yeah.
Philadelphia Eagles be number 2.
Yeah.
Number 3, I'm kind of hard pressed. Number 3, give me. Hate to say it because it's not USA. Give me Team Portugal, man. Soccer. I like them. I like following them.
Over the Phillies?
All right. Yeah. I mean, like, because World Cup only comes around like once every 4 years. I mean, I like the Phillies and stuff. You know?
So if you would choose something that you could only watch every 4 years?
Well, I mean, like, you can keep up with it and stuff, but I kind of dig that, you know? Yeah.
I feel that.
Yeah.
Tyler, top 3 teams.
I don't have 3 teams.
He's got 1 and 1 only.
Yeah, I'm a dog fan, and then my girlfriend's a big Kansas City fan, so I like to watch them with them. And outside that,
what about Georgia Bulldog North, man? Philly Eagles.
I mean,
Georgia Bulldog North.
I mean, that's cool. Like if they make the Super Bowl, I'd be happy for those guys. I'm not going to go out of my way to watch like a Philadelphia Eagles game just to watch those guys, though. Like it's just NFL wasn't a big thing for us growing up. Like basketball, baseball, my parents didn't let us play because they didn't want to watch us play. And so I just never really grew up a fan of any of that. So it's just them dogs, baby.
Hey, back to that other point real quick. Wright State Chris talking about the creating like an NFL-type college football landscape. Wright State Chris says an add relegation, but only for football. And I kind of like that to some extent. I think that I feel like all the other conferences should stay the same for all sports. Like I feel like Oregon and Washington should have just joined the sport for football. And I think that so if you were to add relegation, you could have like a little small conference like what the Pac-12 is going to be next year with just Oregon and Oregon State and Washington State. And you can call them the cellar dwellers, and they have to work their way back in. So I think we could work in a little relegation there, Wright State Chris. All right, Shohei Ohtani, let's nerd out here, Max.
Yes, sir. Let's do it.
All right, so what do you want to start with?
What do you want to know? I can give you a good breakdown of it.
Yeah, give me a good breakdown.
Okay.
Just start with where you want to start and what you think is the most important for us to know, that if this segment were to end by the time, like that we know what we need to know.
Okay. So go to the nitty gritty here.
Yes.
I got to write this so I can keep with my
Yeah, go ahead.
So it's a 10-year, $700 million deal, right?
Yes.
And what he's doing is $2 million a year. So he's deferring $68 million a year for all 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
So basically how the maths on this.
Okay, the maths.
So you use the imputed loan rate. So what that is for the discount rate.
You gotta stop there.
Get ready for this. So I got you. So $68 million's getting deferred, right?
Uh-huh.
So if we're this is bad radio, but 68 over 1 plus 0.0443. That's the loan rate, okay?
I think that's good radio. People are learning a lot right now.
Loan rate is, okay? So this is some time value of money. And so there's 10 years on that. So it's 68 divided by 1 plus 0.0443 to the 10th power. So, but what you get here, though, so bear with me. What we get here, you get 446 million, basically, is what it is.
All right.
And then what you have to add back is the $2 million that he's getting per year times 10 years. So basically, time value of money here, he's getting $466 million. I mean, it might be 460. I didn't do it on the calculator.
You're splitting hairs over that. It doesn't really matter, when you get that
So
kind of
basically,
money.
it's like a 10-year.
I can make another cup of coffee with those beans you're counting.
So basically, it's like a 10-year, 460 deal. And the way Uncle Joe, so he's getting. The way Uncle Joe's trending everything, $68 million will be chump change for the Dodgers over those next 10 years.
Yeah,
how do they get away with that though?
I know.
Get around the luxury
There's a rule
tax.
that's it gets them
it's
around the
gonna
luxury
pass.
tax.
Yeah, and because they can do that, and so it's going to pass because the owners are going to be like, "Oh, we're going to start doing this," and that's the tricky slope where it's like,
that's going to set an ugly precedent.
And the players' union, I bet they're not too happy about it either because not everyone's Shohei Ohtani getting 40, 45 million in ad money every year. So he did it, which is smart because one, he's going to be fine. He doesn't need that instant $700 million, and two, the Dodgers can keep getting better. Like they're going after Yamamoto.
That's what I'm saying, though. They're already like an all-star team, and this just allows them to go out and hoard and get more players.
Yes, they're playing MLB The Show.
Yeah.
On easy mode with trades turned down to what you can just make your own trades however you want to.
Yeah. Granted, there's 6 through 9 is still pretty easy outs. 1 through 5 is tough.
Well, I'm really interested in this though too. Just because how often does it work? How often does it work when you put all of these pieces together in name only?
Right.
Now, but then when
It's a dang good
has
team,
there
though.
has there been a better big three, if you will, when you talk baseball of Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, and now Shohei Ohtani? And then in 2025, what that big three becomes because Shohei Ohtani should be pitching again at that point. So not only do you have one of the best bats in the American League or now in the National League, still either way. I mean, now he's made the path a little bit harder for Ronald Acuna Jr. to go back-to-back for MVP.
Yeah, yes. Is that what you're worried about?
No, I'm not worried about any of
here,
it.
so you're all right.
But he's still gonna hit. Yeah,
I know. And man, so the 1 through 5 then is Betts, Ohtani, Freeman, Smith, Muncy, which is insane.
Yeah.
And then there's 6 through 9. It's serviceable. You go James Outman.
The off season's not over yet.
I know. And they have a ton of guys in their farm. It's not good for the league. But that's a bad precedent. But also, my buddy, who is a diehard Braves fan, was texting me. This contract's bogus. I was like, glass houses, man. Like, you guys give every young guy a 10-year deal and instant money. So it is what it is. We'll see. I'm worried that might cause issues down the road for like a strike on how contracts are structured.
Yeah.
But it's really smart. I mean, the Dodgers.
Oh, by the Dodgers,
move.
they knocked it out of the park.
Absolutely.
You can't make that deal any better. And that's why the only hope I have is that they don't win a World Series, because that's the only negativity that can really come out of this, right? As far as for the Dodgers and for Ohtani, right? Ohtani is going to be able to make just as much money as he would a year without getting paid by the Dodgers, just off of his endorsements alone. So he's going to make all of that money. Then he's set up for the rest of his life. And the way that the taxes all work out on that is by a certain time. I guess if you go, if the deferred value is large enough, after a certain amount of time, you get taxed on the state that you're living in, which drives me to another question, which I don't have the answer for, but what if he's living in Japan? How does it work out at that point in time?
That's a whole other translation currency. We're not getting into that today.
But Right State Chris wants to know, does the deferred money affect the Dodgers once they have to start paying it?
It'll affect it, but I think with the way caps have moved so much the past years, it's not going to be as big of a dent as people really think.
Yeah.
Which is how the dollar's trending. So,
that's just sick.
But yeah, if anyone asks, it's like a 10-year, $460 million deal for what?
Yeah, so it's like 46. It's basically like paying for a top-notch player instead of paying
so
for
where's the
two.
$700 million number come from then? Like
that's what the contract states.
Is what they're going to pay him out, but then like from 2033 to 2040 or 2042, they're going to pay out the rest.
Okay.
But they're also going to be paying Mookie Betts at that point in time. So, I'm sure Freddie's got some deferred.
Hopefully, I mean, at some point, something bad has to happen for the Dodgers. Like, they're just going to be good for a while still.
I mean, honestly, if they don't win a World Series in Shohei's tenure, the Dodgers won't see it. The brass, the guys who are worried about the numbers, they're not going to care. But if you're Dodgers fans and you go 10 years with having three of the best players in baseball and you don't win one,
then you're called the Angels.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Angels in the outfield, baby. But it's going to make it's fun because now, I mean, the Dodgers have already been a team that everyone roots against if you're not a Dodgers fan, just because of how they, utilize the money and everything, just like the Yankees. So now there's even more reason. But now they've got one of the most likable players in baseball, too.
I know, which is like
two of them, really, because Freddie's also, and so is Mookie.
I know, no one really dislikes any of those guys. Muncy you can kind of dislike, everyone's got
I know, but okay, when but you got the other three guys, it's focused on Max Muncy.
No, which is nice for him.
Till the playoffs. Yeah, exactly.
I know.
He has.
But it's interesting too because I think Toronto is mad about the situation. Their fans are. I know there was like a lot of smoke to that. I really don't think he was ever going to play in Toronto.
Yeah.
I mean, he's already moved countries in the past few years, and like. If you think Canada or California taxes are bad, which they are, I mean, you get the athlete tax, but he's also going to be playing the Angels every year. And now with all how you play everyone, he's going to be playing San Francisco. So he's going to be taxed hard no matter what. But Toronto, if you're in Canada, have fun with those taxes. So that's a whole nother ball game.
All right, we'll dive into that. We'll dive into that hour number 2 when we get into taxes with Max.
Hear about that story
and viewership and
taxes to the max. Go ahead.
There was a reporter that reported about Ohtani supposedly going on a plane to Toronto and that swung a bunch of money in Vegas.
Yeah,
and a bunch of people got screwed on the betting because of that.
Didn't they say it was the guy from
John Palmarosi? I think that was his name.
I thought they were saying it was the guy from Shark Tanks playing.
Yeah, that's the guy that got off the plane, but the guy that I think told the bunk story was Morosi.
Either way, they did like what any free agent does in that situation. I don't blame him. I think they did a good job. He's got $70 million.
Wisconsin just got their quarterback.
Yeah, who?
Tyler Van Dyke, Miami Hurricanes.
He's going to the Badgers?
He's going to the Badgers, yep. That's according to College Football on ESPN 5 minutes ago.
Quarterbacks go to die. Wisconsin?
Hey, well, we'll see how...
Ask Tanner Mordecai how it went.
Well, yeah. How do you think
Graham Mertz.
Luke Fickell Graham Mertz? Yeah, but now it's a new regime over there. Luke Fickell. Who do you think has the better year 2, Luke Fickell or Matt Rule? Matt Rule more likely going to have. Yeah, but Matt Rule might have Kyle McCord
and
Marvin Harrison Jr.
yeah. I mean Marvin Harrison Jr. in about 3. Kyle McCord looked very average this year in an offense that's been very quarterback friendly and one of the best wide receiver cores in the country, but now he's going to go to Nebraska and play well.
Why do y'all think that is? Why do you think it is that he's transferring to Nebraska? Like, why go from Ohio State, where you were the starter?
I don't think he was going to start.
Because I think there's a good. If Ohio State doesn't land somebody like Cam Ward out of the portal, like a bigger name guy, more proven guy, I'd be surprised because you don't leave Ohio State if you're pretty sure you're going to start.
No, did it?
He probably
Ryan Day did not guarantee McCord and his parents the starting job, and that's the reason why I think he transferred.
And his parents?
Yeah, I heard that. And his
Mom,
parents.
Dad, you are not starting.
They were being his agent or something.
Yeah, so if he thinks that he wasn't, I mean, at that point, if he has to earn the job, he knows he's not going to win it again.
Yeah,
you're not scared at that point.
Right, and like Ohio State fans are like, FSU fans on steroids and their passion. So like the amount of stuff that guy has probably gone in his social media inboxes. I hope he's turned it all off because I feel so bad.
Right, they lose a lot of that off that offense next year. So I mean, if you're Kyle McCord, you could play even better than you did this year, but look statistically probably worse.
Stacked Big Ten too. Ryan Day's on the chopping block, baby.
Yeah. Right, State Chris wants to know: will the Mets still be paying Bobby Bonilla when Shohei's contract is done being paid?
That's actually a good question. I don't know. When does that end? Is that like 2027?
I thought it was. Yeah, I think it's pretty close. They're not even going to be starting to pay Shohei Ohtani at the deferred payments.
I'm actually
at
curious
that point.
when that ends.
Yeah, well,
until 2035.
Oh, 2035. Goodness gracious. Or what'd you think of that?
At 8% interest too. The Bonilla contract is.
There you go.
For Bob.
I want to dive into that in-season tournament when we get back, talk a little bit about that. If that's good for the NBA, should the NHL maybe discover diving into a little in-season tournament as well? You're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. This is ESPN Northwest Florida. Your Minute with Max continues coming up next.
Start your morning with sports updates, interviews, reactions, lively discussions, insights, and expert analysis.
I think in our lifetime, we will never see another undefeated team.
Join Evan, Canty, and Michelle weekday mornings from 5 to 7.
It will never happen again.
On the Sports Talk Monster.
If anyone deserves the benefit of the doubt for one last chance, it's Bill Belichick.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good afternoon. This is Joanna on ESPN Northwest Florida with your forecast on this Tuesday. Partly cloudy skies the remainder of the day with a gentle breeze out of the northeast at 11 miles per hour and look for it to be 62. Tonight, there will be some clouds with the temperature reaching 45. Partly cloudy tomorrow with a wind around 14 miles per hour and the high of 61. Thursday will have a high of 61 and mostly clouds. This weather is brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
It's time to pick your path and go big and go bold from Bill Bird Kia. You can drive away in a brand new 2024 Telluride from Bill Bird Kia. The 2024 Telluride protects what matters, and it's built for the long haul. Its technology will connect with confidence, and its upscale, all-around rugged look will take you on to the next adventure. The road is yours. Bill Bird Kia, the home of the 20-year, 200,000-mile warranty. Stop by and see us today at 2435 East 15th Street or BillBirdKia.com.
Ellis Agency Insurance has been serving Panama City and Bay County for years. They offer a full line of affordable insurance coverage of all types. Many people are attracted to Ellis Agency Insurance because of their friendly, knowledgeable staff. Call independent agent Johnny Ellis for a true comparison of your personal or business insurance. Ellis Agency Insurance at the Old Cullen Insurance location, 1134 Harrison Avenue, across from Dandy Donuts and Deli. Call 763-1627.
It's real, and it starts now. Back to the Afternoon Underdogs on the Sports Talk Monster. ESPN Northwest Florida.
And we are back. It is the Afternoon Underdogs here on ESPN Northwest Florida, 104.3 here in Panama City, 101.9 in Port St. Joe. And we are going to be presenting Wrestling Against Cancer 9. This will be Saturday, April 27th at the Bayhaven Charter Academy. Tickets are going to be $12. Kids 6 through 17 get in for $8. 5 and under get in free. I know it's a ways out, but he just dropped the flyer this afternoon, and it's a great looking flyer. And if you'd like to be one of the sponsors, I know he's looking for one more sponsor for perhaps a big guest. If you love wrestling, you need to get with Jack Patterson and work out. Just talk to him, because I don't know exactly what it is that he wants, but he wants to do something and he needs a little bit of help. So contact Jack Patterson via Facebook. What'd you think, Max, of that in-season tournament there? Lakers and Pacers. Pacers have no defense, but a high-flying offense. Yeah, Lakers came in with a little bit more defense. They are going to be hanging the banner. How do you feel about that? If the Pacers, I'll say it like this: if the Pacers were to win, I think they definitely would have and probably should have hoisted that thing, because they ain't got nothing else to host or hoist.
I agree. Oh, you know what I meant to say too? Yeah. In this, because it used to be across from the studio where the old studio was, and I have no affiliation to this. But if you're going down 23rd Street, visit the Stuff the Bus outside of Walmart.
Yeah.
Such a good cause, because it's all toys that go to kids.
That's Walmart 23rd Street?
Yes.
Yeah. Great plug.
For kids who can't celebrate Christmas, it's great that they can get some presents, or their parents can get some assistance. So I just always remember seeing that when we were at the old studio, and I saw an ad for that, and I was like, oh, that'd be a good radio shout out.
There you go.
To Walmart, just get a toy or something for kids who can't.
It doesn't take much to make a big impact.
Exactly, because those are some of the best days, Christmas as a kid. So.
Absolutely.
But anyways, to the Lakers and Pacers, it was a big success for the NBA. Those are the numbers for that finals. I caught the tail end of that game. They had the same viewership as they get on Christmas, which is a huge win for the NBA, because I know, obviously Christmas is a busy time, but all of us, everyone needs a little bit of time to, pour yourself a drink or whatever and get away from the family and turn on NBA. So to hit those viewership numbers is a huge win for the NBA. I don't, hold too much merit to it, but I think it's cool that it was competitive and good to see teams trying hard.
Yeah. I don't think
gambling helped in the numbers out.
Yes.
I mean, there's that, but I don't think that it's necessarily built for merit necessarily.
No.
I think it's built to keep to keep because this time of the year, the NBA tends to be a little less competitive until you get to after the All-Star break, where teams are making that push, which is why
good players consistently played, which is good.
Yeah. Would you like to see the bracket change to where it's not like soccer World Cup, but more like March Madness basketball?
I kind of liked how it was because it was kind of funny to see, like, I know Billy Donovan didn't understand it one day, too. Yeah. They were down like 29, and the Celtics are popping
point differential.
threes.
Yeah.
I kind of like it. That's like what you do in like a video game where if you're like, torching some kid in FIFA, you start juggling online and stuff. Like, I'm here for it. I mean, especially because NBA of all the big four sports league has the most divas about stuff and like playing and just all the on and off course stuff. The NBA drama, NBA offseason's always like keeping up with the Kardashians. Yeah. So I'm here for it. I like keep the point differential, and it breaks a ton of people's brains. So I think it's hilarious to see people like actually mad online that teams are getting the score ran up, and then you get to learn. You also learn a little bit about how soccer tournaments go. Yeah, there you go.
Oh, you can.
Culture.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Exactly. Would you like to see this tournament, this type of a tournament? And I want Rick's answer to this as well. Coach Old says it made him turn on the TV. Me too. Well, I had it on my phone. I watched it on my phone while I was at Beatdown Underground 3 at Lake Town Wharf, but I watched the second half of it. It was pretty good. I got to say, anytime you put LeBron in a playoff type setting, though, man, I know he's older and it's not the same, but he's still got it. There's no denying that the man has still got it, and he's still one of the best ball players on the floor at any given time. Does he have a tendency to complain about calls? Who doesn't? Who does it in this day and age? But it is impressive, and he's going to take that to the bank because, like I think it was Doc A talking about it on the Inside Drive today. Any little thing that he can have that he feels is a competitive edge in the chasing of the ghost of Michael Jordan, he's going to hold that near and dear.
He's always a little corny with some of his quotes, or like remember. Like 2 years ago, his shtick of like he was reading in the locker room. He was on a random page.
Yeah.
Good for him. But obviously, it's still crazy the level he's playing at.
Yeah.
But he really, for as good as he is, he could take it easy on like the forcing the quotes. Like, oh, I'm the first to do it. No one can ever say they were the first to win it. Like, okay, dude, we know it was the inaugural tournament. Like, good job. Like, Jordan was the first to go 6-0 in the finals. Like, what do you want him to say?
What about Bill Russell? Did Bill Russell ever lose?
Yeah,
come on. He did it 5 more times.
He was playing against the Chiefs wide receivers.
I'm just saying, Bill Russell did it too, though. Jonathan says Max complains about calls just like Braun. Don't we all do that, though? Don't we all complain a little bit? Can we give a little grace to LeBron James?
Whenever something go your way, you're going to complain a little bit.
Exactly. No, I feel you 100%, though, but it's tough to he's done a very good job, but that's what Jonathan said, your buddy Jonathan.
Put our 1-on-1 pickup record in the chat.
Oh, there we go, Jonathan. He called you out. What's the 1-on-1 record? What you got, Rick?
Who was it, Myles Garrett, that complained in the win about the officiating this past weekend?
Wait, in the win?
Yeah. I want to say it was him, and he complained about the officiating and how bad it was, and even though they won. So, like, everybody's complaining about it in losses. That's somebody that complained in a win.
That's awesome.
That's when you know it's bad.
He's a weird dude.
He is, man. But you can just ask Mason Rudolph about that.
Complaining about the refs after a win's a hilarious bit.
We should have beat these guys by more, but the refs suck today.
Let's dive into y'all's picks. Let's dive into y'all's picks for this week. The standings are getting jumbled up, man. AG he had an 8-2 week this week, so now he's tied with me. I went 6-4, you went 5-5, so now I got you by 1 game, but we're all very close right now at any given week. And we've got the bowl pick'em too, so we're not going to be picking all of these on the air, the bowl games, but we are going to be counting them all for Our pick'em. So the pick'em's going to be like over 300 picks by the time it's all said and done. I might just start like a yearly thing, like start in January is like, all right, anything that is picked on this show, we're going to keep track of it, man. Caveman Rick, I might have to have you help me create a spreadsheet and keep track of everything, man, because that is a daunting task. As we start with our first game here, Thursday Night Football, Raiders are a 3-point favorite at the house hosting the Chargers. Total sitting at 33.5. Who you got in this one, Max?
Raiders. That game's going to stink. I've got the under.
That game's going to stink. Hey, the Chargers beat the Patriots 2 weeks ago 6-0. The Vikings beat the Raiders this last week 3-0. This game might be 1-0, 2-0.
One for the under, baby.
This is going to make somebody in Iowa just so proud watching this game.
Yeah.
Just be like, hey, these are our people right here. But
we understand.
I took the Raiders too. Herbert's out. Mike Williams is out. The Raiders been playing with Aiden O'Connell a little bit longer. So, you figure he's going to be a little bit better rhythm of the game.
Vikings at the Bengals. Bengals a 3.5-point favorite. Jake Browning playing some really good ball right now. 39.5 is the total. Tyler, lead us off.
I'm taking the Bengals at the house. The way Browning's been playing is really, really impressive. And let's not forget the Bengals still have some pretty good guys out there at the skill positions. So Justin Jefferson, if I'm assuming, probably won't play. And then the Vikings are making the switch at quarterback this week, getting Dobbs. So it's going to be tricky, but I think the Bengals pull it out.
Nice trade, Vikings.
Yeah.
Between Nick Mullins and Josh Dobbs, that really stinks for the Vikings. It seems like they actually had a formidable squad, and then Kirk got hurt. That being said, I got to go with the Bengals, too. Just the game of the mediocres.
Still waiting for that one-on-one record there, Jonathan, as we move to the Steelers at the Colts. Colts are a 2.5-point favorite, and the total sitting at 42.5. Max.
The Steelers can't get out of their own way. I saw a montage this week on Twitter of 10 of the past Steelers receivers just having diva fits in the end zone and not getting passes. It's just like a rite of passage.
It's like Antonio Brown. Was there any before Antonio Brown that in that montage?
No, not really.
Yeah, because
Juju, George Pickens. Anyway,
which is not at all like their head coach, though.
Yeah, it's such an odd occurrence that seems to be going on with him.
Yeah, but I'm going to take the Colts. Mustache man.
Man, I will say these first 6 games, the 6 starting quarterbacks have to be some of the worst group of starting quarterbacks you could probably have. And it's all 6 of them are 5 backups and Kenny Pickett.
Yeah. I think Trubisky's going to be going.
Either, Pro Bowler Mitch Trubisky.
Yeah, but put some respect on the name.
Finally, we got 6 backup quarterbacks. But I'm taking the Steelers. It just kind of seems like the game that Mike Tomlin wins for no reason at all besides costing their team a shot at a good draft pick.
This next game could be very, very interesting. Broncos at the Lions. Lions are a 4-point favorite. All 3 of these games, by the way, the first one is Thursday Night Football. These other 3 games are Saturday, and they'll all be right here on ESPN Northwest Florida. Broncos at the Lions will be the nightcap. Lions are a 4-point favorite for a 46.5-point total. Tyler, lead us off here.
Vikings lost to the Bears this week, so you never know what you're going to get with the Lions, apparently. But I think at the house they'll bounce
game
back.
out of.
They'll bounce back a little bit, and the Broncos have been very consistent. If they can force 2 or 3 turnovers, they end up winning. As long as the Lions can protect the football, I think they can end up pulling this one out.
Max?
Yeah. They say never catch a falling knife, but I'm going to catch it. I'm going to take the Lions this week. Something's got to give at some point. I don't know why. I just decided, this year, watching Sean Payton, I just really don't want to see him have success, so I'm going to root for the Lions.
And that's one way to look at it.
One of my coworkers used to live down the street from him, and I just heard, so many stories about him, and he's, just slimy.
But didn't you watch the Netflix movie starring Kevin James? That's the Sean Payton I want to believe in. Right?
There you go.
Good point.
Bucks at the Packers. Packers a 3.5-point favorite. Total sitting at 42.5. Go ahead, Max.
Unsurprisingly, every year the Packers have the highest luck percentage in the NFL. I don't know how they calculate that. The nerds have an algorithm. I don't know if you saw them not touching Saquon and then making him fumble yesterday.
Dude, was that not crazy?
And I thought for sure they were gonna. The refs love the Packers, so I thought they were gonna call that a touchdown. He scored on the next play.
Yeah.
Whatever. But and like against the Saints, against the Giants, everyone misses a field goal against the Packers. The Packers don't have an elite special teams by any.
Yeah.
They actually have a bad special teams. Anyway, I'm going to take the Packers. It sucks. They're going to win.
How wild was that, though? How wild was that?
I can't stand the Packers, dude.
What about the awareness, though, from number 37? I can't remember who it was. I believe that's what his number was. But to not even try to touch Saquon. Because had he touched Saquon, then he's down at that point in time. But because he backed up like that, and then the ball just is like, okay, man, that is that was heads up football.
Scripted is what?
No. Oh no, Miles. No, Miles.
The script.
Who you got in that one?
I'm doing this one for our buddy Barrett. He wants the Bucs to lose out so they can get a better draft pick. So I'm taking the Packers. Taking the Packers to knock out his Bucs. He's a really big Jaden Daniels believer. That's what he's hoping the Bucs can pull off this draft season. So he needs a few Bucs losses here. Prop the Falcons up a little bit.
I didn't know K-Man was pulling the mic down. I didn't know if he had something to add to that. All right, next we'll go to the Texans at the Titans. Titans are 1.5-point favorite. We don't know the future here for C.J. Stroud. Total sitting at 37.5. Tyler, lead us off here, Texans-Titans.
I know Stroud kind of came out of the game last week with an injury. Nico Collins got shaken up, I believe. Tank Dell's out for the remainder of the season. A lot of injuries piling up for the Texans. I'm taking the Titans at the house.
Yeah, there's a ton of injuries for the Texans. I'm just gonna stick with the Texans. I'm just not gonna think about it. I don't believe in Mike Vrabel. So
you don't believe in Mike Vrabel?
No,
when did
he
that
seems like
change?
a great guy to play for. Ever since he did that one field goal when he was down like 5 with like 2 minutes left earlier this year,
What about last night? That didn't change your.
He got lucky.
He got lucky last night.
Yeah, Tua
last night. All right.
Without Tyreek Hill, I mean, he's not the MVP.
Why doesn't the defense get any blame at all last night? The Dolphins defense for giving up 2 touchdowns in the final 3 minutes. No. The Miami offense which struggled to move the ball mightily last night. Okay, go ahead. I'm just saying.
2 garbage touchdowns. Like Will Levis helped him out. Well, actually, let's go back. Will Levis threw a pick 6.
Yes, he did.
Their punt returner muffed a punt.
I'm not trying to talk good about the.
No, I'm saying the Dolphins offense is getting way too much credit.
They didn't
do anything.
But what about the defense late in the game?
Mike Vrabel needs to replace that punt returner, number 33. Oh my gosh! And after he muffed the second time, I was like, he bobbled it.
Yeah, I know.
That's like how I envision myself as a punt returner.
They did get pretty lucky last night. There's no doubt, and it did change the offense dramatically when Tyreek Hill went out. Who doesn't it? Look at Mahomes. Right. What are people still saying about Mahomes? Oh, man, it's because they don't got Tyreek Hill.
And I really like Mike McDaniel. I think he's hilarious. His dry humor and sprinting against the camera into the tunnel's hilarious.
Commanders at the Rams. Sorry. Hey, why don't we do another segment?
Did you see his? I don't know if I can.
Come on, yes you can. If you're saying I don't know if I can, that means that you can do it. It's just 20 more minutes.
I can't.
Yes, you can.
Today. Well, we gotta ease into it.
All right, Commanders at Rams. We've been easing into this for years now. Commanders at the Rams. 6.5. Tyler, you go ahead. Rams are 6.5-point favorite.
Going cross country. Give me the team that's at home.
Max?
Yeah, Rams, set and repeat.
Cowboys, Bills. Max, you lead it off.
I think the Cowboys are the better team, but in Buffalo, it's going to be cold. I'll take the Bills. They'll get lucky.
2 teams coming off some big wins, but give me the Cowboys. Dak is hot right now.
He's throwing dimes. MV Prescott right now.
Oh, MV Prescott. Come on, one more segment. Ravens at the Jaguars. Jags are a 3.5-point dog in this one. Tyler, lead us off.
My boy Todd Monken's up there cooking with Baltimore right now. Jags are hit or miss right now, so we're taking Ravens in Duval.
All right.
Yeah, I'm taking the Ravens too. Trevor Lawrence is so overrated, man.
And then finally, Monday Night Football. Eagles at the Seahawks. Seahawks are a 4-point bird right here.
We don't know if it's going to be Locke or Geno yet.
No.
It doesn't matter because the Eagles are going to win.
They're on a 2-game losing stretch where they've lost pretty significantly in the last 2 games. I think they bounce back and take out the Seahawks.
All right, that's going to do it for Max and Tyler's picks here for Week 16. You're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. Hour number 2 up next.
104.3 ESPN is above the rim. Exciting college basketball is back. Tune in every Saturday for the biggest games in college basketball, plus marquee evening matchups during the week. The Round Ball. it goes for the win! You want it. You need it. And we've got it. College basketball plays here. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good evening. This is Joanna with your weather forecast from ESPN Northwest Florida on this Tuesday. Partly cloudy tonight with a wind at 11 miles per hour out of the east-northeast and a low of 47. Tomorrow morning, look for a moderate breeze and mostly sunshine with a temperature near 58. In the afternoon and evening, a high around 62 and partly cloudy. Thursday, quite warm with a high of 64 and mostly clouds. This weather forecast is brought to you by Ellis Agency Insurance. Thank you for tuning into ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Krispy Kreme is releasing more delicious fall flavors. You're probably asking, hey, didn't Krispy Kreme already release fall donut flavors? The answer is yes. However, Krispy Kreme has 3 new flavors you've never tasted before. Caramel pecan brownie, classic blackberry crisp filled, and the cinnamon latte lovers donuts. All new and waiting on you at Krispy Kreme Donuts in front of HCA Hospital, 23rd Street, Panama City, and the Ross Clark Circle in Dothan.
Your home for Auburn Tiger basketball. WGSX Lynn Haven. WVLQ Port St. Joe.
ESPN Northwest Florida, War Eagle.
Did you know that fees associated with real estate closings are virtually the same from one title company to the next? So what sets South Oak Title apart? Effective communication, customer service, expertise, and technology. If you're buying or selling real estate, refinancing a residential or commercial property, tell your realtor you want to close with South Oak Title. South Oak Title, with locations across the Southeast, including Panama City Beach, Inlet Beach, Destin, and Fort Walton Beach. Visit them online at southoaktitle.com.
We don't sell the steak.
You can stir this all up.
We sell the sizzle. Now back to the Afternoon Underdogs.
Very spicy.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
Welcome back. You are riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. You are in the doghouse, and this is ESPN Northwest Florida 104.3 here in Panama City, 101.9 in Port St. Joe. I'm David Hayes along with Tyler Bishop and Caveman Rick. We'll start this hour off with a little traffic jam and trivia. Which now common piece of sporting equipment was first patented on this day in 1899? Which now common piece of sporting equipment was first patented on this day in 1899? Was it the batting helmet, the wooden golf tee, the glass backboard, or the vulcanized rubber hockey puck? Which now common piece of sporting equipment was first patented on this day in 1899? Was it the batting helmet, the wooden golf tee, the glass backboard, or the rubber hockey puck? You can give us a call now at 850-215-6290. On this day in sports history, 1965, Chicago running back Gale Sayers tied the NFL record for most touchdowns in a game with 6 of them in a 61-20 victory over the San Francisco 49ers at Wrigley Field. In 1966, the U.S. Supreme Court votes 4-3, allowing the Braves to move to Atlanta. And in 1976, quarterback Joe Namath played his last game with the New York Jets.
I'm glad the Supreme Court had nothing better to do that day than to vote on the Braves moving.
Hey, there you go. I think it was Wisconsin was trying to get the Braves to stay at that point, and so when they were voting on them to be able to stay, essentially. So I've read it worded 2 different ways now, but I've also heard Riley Leonard headed to Notre Dame. How do you think first off, Sam Hartman sitting out the Sun Bowl, which I guess not surprising, but also surprising because it's not I don't know why you wouldn't play your final game.
Well, more like because, nobody's sitting here saying Sam Hartman's a top 15 lock, right?
So another transfer for Sam Hartman? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, so it's just like, it's almost like this could very well be the last meaningful snaps he takes as a quarterback. You know what I'm saying? He may catch on a roster somewhere. I'm not saying he definitely won't be. But it just seems kind of odd that he would choose not to play his final game. That could be legitimately his last start ever. Mm-hmm. So, why not play that? I mean, if Caleb Williams, I get. Drake May, I get. somebody like that. But this one's kind of a head scratcher for me.
Yeah, not sure why he's doing that, but how do you think Riley Leonard will take Notre Dame? Will Notre Dame take that step or will they be the same Notre Dame that we've been seeing for the last little bit?
I will say the little bit I've watched Riley Leonard, I can't say. I mean, he's a great athlete. He's an inconsistent passer. He'll help their running game into the extent because he'll bring in that quarterback run if they design the offense kind of that way. But I'm not sure from what I've seen if he's a consistent enough passer to really elevate that offense more than Sam Hartman did. So I think we're going to kind of see a lot of more of the same, depending on how their schedule shapes up. If they drop Ohio State for even a team like Cal, that's a step down from that. They could have easily been a little bit better this year. But I mean, losing to a team like Louisville was probably not what they expected out of this year either. Not that Louisville was a bad team; they ended up being a pretty solid team. But it's hard to believe that he's going to be the main step in taking Notre Dame to the playoff next year.
Out of the bowl games this weekend, we actually have quite a few of them. You've got Georgia Southern versus Ohio, Howard versus FAMU, Jacksonville State versus Louisiana, Miami, Ohio versus App State, New Mexico State versus Fresno State, UCLA versus Boise State, and Cal versus Texas Tech. Which one has your intrigue, your interest the most?
I mean, I think it's probably New Mexico State, just in the sense the way they went into Auburn and beat Auburn. If they go out and lose to Fresno State, what is that kind of? I mean, obviously, the transitive property doesn't really matter in football, but it's just it would be kind of embarrassing for Auburn to an extent. Not that losing to New Mexico State already wasn't fairly embarrassing, but was that a fluke or was that okay, this is actually a pretty solid football team just with the name of New Mexico State versus, if they were App State, nobody would think as much about it as they did.
Right.
But I think that's one of the more, App State, I think since they beat Michigan in 2007 has always kind of draws people's attention more than a team of that level typically would. So I think those are probably the top two I'd keep tabs on this weekend.
All right. Before we dive into this all-transfer team, looking at you and Max's picks, which are the first ones to put yours in for our bowl pick'em. And if you got, I'm trying. If you want to pick your bowls along with us, because we're going to keep this, we're going to add it into our pick'em. That's for the Afternoon Underdogs. But if you'd like to put your picks in with us, and we'll record them alongside of ours, download or just go print up a college football bowl schedule and send your picks to me. Send a picture of them to 850-215-6290, and we'll say the winner, whoever has the best bowl pick 'em, wins a $25 gift card to not but that boot store. You just got to send me a picture of your bowl pick'ems, and I will count those along the rest of ours here, not just at ESPN Northwest Florida, but at the Afternoon Underdogs as well. And looks like the only games that you guys disagreed on was Jacksonville State and Louisiana. You're going with Louisiana, and he's going with Jacksonville State, and then California and Texas Tech.
Yeah.
So
some very astute analysis went into those picks.
Well, yeah, no doubt, man. How much of the early games do you watch? Not the early games, but just of the early bowl games.
It kind of depends on the schedule. I'm not going to go out of my way to sit down and make time to watch, Howard play FAMU, but it's one of those things where I'm sitting at the house and I'm just sitting at the house not doing anything. I always have bowl games going on in the background if I'm not. But if I'm going to go out and be doing something or be cooking dinner, I can't always say I'm like, oh man, I can't believe I forgot about Cal versus Texas Tech on a Thursday afternoon in middle December or whatever the game ends up being. But that's the best part about bowl season. You just randomly find a game on, leave it on, and get to watch some teams you wouldn't normally play. And especially when draft season comes around, even if it's not this year, but a year later, be like, oh, I remember watching that guy. He put up 400 yards against Cal last year. It's fun to watch. And go from there.
Who of the quarterbacks, the 10 most notable quarterbacks, which we've already had Kyle McCord essentially say he's going to Nebraska, Tyler Van Dyke now going to Wisconsin. Funny how both of those guys have already found their quarterbacks. But who is, of the 8 to 10 available, is going to be the most valuable transfer next year as we look at some of the transfers from this year and talk about those guys?
It's hard not to say Cam Ward at the moment. He's kind of probably the most proven guy. For a lot of people who don't know Washington State football, he's been considered one of the better quarterbacks in that conference, even with guys like Penix and Bo Nix and, Caleb Williams out there. He was a guy thought of in a similar tier. Will Howard is a guy from K-State. He's played a lot of games. I don't see him being a true difference maker for somebody. He's a good quarterback, but I don't know if he's going to be somebody that's going to move the needle for them. It's funny hearing DJ Uiagalelei on the move again. I thought him going back out to the West Coast was great, but with everything going on with Oregon State, losing their coach, losing their conference. I can't say I blame him for not going out there, but it's funny that one of the places he's most tied to right now is Florida State. Which would be hilarious if he comes back and plays at Florida State and goes on to beat Clemson next year and puts up like 4 touchdowns and 400 yards or something like that would be just hilarious. But I think Cam Ward's got to be the biggest name, and if he's not the guy replacing McCord,
you're gonna be surprised.
In Ohio State, I'd be surprised because who else are they waiting for?
Yeah,
if Dylan Gabriel had gone there, I wouldn't have been surprised, but he ended up committing to Oregon out of leaving Oklahoma and playing his 8th year.
How do you feel about that? Dylan Gabriel going to Oregon, but the grass was pretty good over there at Oklahoma as well. They had a great year. They can build upon that. Why skip over to Oregon? That's got to just be an NIL deal, essentially.
It's probably got to be an NIL thing, but also he's a Hawaii kid, so maybe he wanted to be a little bit closer to home. I mean, granted, if you're flying, you're flying.
Yeah.
Maybe being on the West Coast makes it easier for his family. Maybe he prefers to be on the West Coast. I mean, if you're from Hawaii and you went to Orlando, that's kind of a culture shock. But then moving to Norman, Oklahoma, that's a bit of a culture shock too. So maybe he's just more of a West Coast vibes guy. But yeah, he's a Hawaii kid, so I'm assuming that probably played a role in it. And Oregon's had a history of having Samoan players and things like that, so maybe the culture up there is just a little bit more similar to what he's used to.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a good match for him too. I mean, Oklahoma, they had a great year this last year. Things are going to get a little bit more difficult for them. You would like to, or you'd think, going into the SEC, going from the Big 12. But Oregon, same thing for Oregon. They're going into the Big 10. I don't know whose trek is a little bit whose transition is going to be tougher? Is it going to be for the Oregons and the Washingtons who are going over to the Big 10, or is it going to be just for Texas and Oklahoma and I guess the reason why I even have the question is because you only got 2 teams going into the SEC, whereas you've got 4 big-time teams going into the Big 10. I mean,
it's almost more to the point, obviously, Bama and Ohio State, Georgia, Michigan. They're the class of, arguably college football for the most part. I know Texas and Washington are up there in the playoff this year, but the last couple of years, those have been probably 4 of the best 5 teams if you want to look at it collectively. But I think the bigger thing is if you're looking at which conference are you more comfortable that you could slide into that 3rd and 4th spot. Would you rather battle out Penn State and Iowa, or would you rather battle out Missouri, Ole Miss, LSU? Or, Tennessee last year. I think that's kind of where you're looking at. How do you think you compare to those teams more so than the top dogs? Because the top dogs are the top dogs, and if you're as good as those guys, it doesn't matter where you go, right? You're going to be a top 5, top 8 team in all of college football. But if you're not one of those guys, okay, now I'm kind of fighting for that next level. And would you rather compete against, like I said, Penn State, Iowa, Maryland, Nebraska, Wisconsin? You know what I'm saying? That second level is so much less defined, I feel like, in the Big 10 versus the SEC. And I'd like my chances a little bit better in the Big 10 right now.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Which conference do you think is going to be stronger next year, though? Which team has more? Which conference has more teams in the college football playoff? And obviously, we're foreshadowing so far into the future that this doesn't even matter. But which conference has more teams out of the 12 available?
I think it's hard not to be the SEC right now today because Ewers is planning on coming back. Looks like Carson Beck's coming back to Georgia. Bama's going to be returning Milroe. Ohio State is going to have a new quarterback, regardless of who it is. Michigan's more than likely going to have a new quarterback. Penn State returns Aller, but they were very average on offense.
Need a new OC games. Too. So
Oregon with Gabriel coming over may not miss quite as much of a beat as maybe some of these other teams replacing their quarterback. But what does Washington have? USC's losing Caleb Williams, and they were 7-5 with him. UCLA isn't bringing. There's no known commodities really at that point outside of Dylan Gabriel playing quarterback in that conference next year.
Kirby said KJ said he was leaving, and now he's staying at Arkansas. KJ Jefferson.
Okay, well, good for him. They brought in a transfer from Boise State as well.
Yeah, so that's what he also said. He said that earlier. I didn't see that until just now. And James says that the offensive coordinator, Levy, left to Mississippi State, so Dylan left. That's fair.
Yeah, I did forget about Levy going to Mississippi State, so, not knowing that does make... That's a good point there.
Great decision on his part, on his behalf, to not go to Mississippi State and follow Levy there, because that might be a little bit tougher than the trek could be.
I will say, about Arkansas, I'm interested to see what they do next year.
Yeah.
They brought in, if KJ Jefferson stays, great. They brought in another guy, Bobby Petrino, calling plays again. They hired a new offensive line coach from Baylor that's been considered kind of a rising guy in the industry. And Sam Pittman's going in hard for this last year, and I mean he knows as much as anybody's on the hot seat. So how they come out next year in a improved SEC, no divisions though, so they're gonna, I don't know exactly what their schedule looks like, but that's gonna be it's gonna be a fun team to watch, I hope.
Yeah, what's another team that you're really intrigued for? Like, what's a team that has an intriguing bowl game to you that you're thinking they can use that to springboard into 2023 or 2024? Sorry,
I think the Peach Bowl.
The Peach Bowl, dude. I'm trying to get media credentials to that one.
Penn State, Ole Miss. Ole Miss is supposed to be bringing back Dark Judkins and Trey Harris next year. Penn State obviously bringing back Drew Aller after his first year starting. Like, I think that's going to be one of those games where you see the least amount of opt-outs for one of the higher tier, higher ranked bowls. It's 8 versus 10 or something like that. I think that's one of the few games that's going to, obviously outside of the college football playoff where both teams look to be at relatively full strength. And it's two teams, like kind of what we were just talking about. Would you rather be going up against Ole Miss or Penn State going into next year?
Yeah.
We'll find out on the field in, 2.5 weeks.
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to that one. I think that one could kind of, obviously, you can't use one game to judge the strength of a conference, but I think that one, if Ole Miss comes out and blows out Penn State, that's going to be interesting. If Penn State comes out and dominates Ole Miss, that's going to be a real interesting game. It kind of says a statement about the quality of some of the teams that we were kind of judging this year without any sort of common denominator.
Yeah. Man, I think Penn State and Ole Miss might be one of the best ones out there. Arizona, Oklahoma is another one, but it's another one. It's another one of those games where the lack of Dylan Gabriel is going to create that storyline where it's.
Yeah, if Arizona wins, okay, you beat a team without their offensive coordinator and their quarterback, and if you lose, you lost to a team without their offense.
Yeah,
I hate what bowls have become because opting out has become such a accepted practice, and I'm not saying it's wrong, but people want to say bowl games don't matter because of the college football playoff. No, they don't matter because players opt out. They don't matter to the players anymore. Because, the Liberty Bowl and the BCS didn't matter any more than it does today for the national championship. It didn't matter 30 years ago for the national championship, but it doesn't matter today because it's accepted for players to sit out because it's not worth it to them anymore.
Yeah, and I wish that there was some type of incentive or anything of that nature to try to get players if it had to hit them in their NIL, if it had to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If there's not a punishment, an incentive.
That should be part of the NIL. Like, if you're signing NIL and you're getting money from this team, you have to do the bowl game if you're healthy.
Instead of doing like the pregame swag and all that stuff, all the gifts, make it where the winning team gets a $500,000 donation to their collective to split amongst the players who play in the game. If you win, something like, instead of spending we can pay the players, right? It just goes into the collective. They'll make a donation to their, however BS red tape you want to use to get around the actual rules. Make that part of the game.
Yeah.
Like, make that you're playing for something. And then maybe you'll start seeing these guys not opt out. Maybe you won't. But, if there's money on the line, that's what these kids are worried about at this point.
You're worried about the marquee players sitting out, and those are the people that's not going to affect because they're already getting big-time money or they're going to go to the NFL and get big-time money. So I don't think you're going to curb a lot of that, though.
And if you're making players play, if say you're going to take away someone's NIL, but they don't want to get hurt, that's not going to make them play harder. Or it's not going to, exactly.
At that point, oh man, I sprained my ankle in the first play of the game and I couldn't go the rest of the way.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd like to see something that could help because the bowl games are fun, but it's hard to, we're going through the picks. I'm like, well, this coordinator's gone, this quarterback's transferred, this quarterback's opting out. And it's like, it makes picking the games incredibly hard. But also it's like, man, where's the excitement from? You're not really watching.
Like Auburn Missouri, Ohio State, right? Missouri, they feel like they should be, or they are getting rewarded a game against Ohio State for a great season that they had this year. And now, let's say that they beat Ohio State. Well, that doesn't count because we didn't have Kyle McCord.
It's a shell of a team.
16. Yeah. They've got 16 guys in the portal already.
Yeah.
Plus, I doubt Marvin Harrison plays. The rumors about his NIL to come back next year are just insane and ridiculous if you've ever heard that.
Yeah, what's it, like 25 mil?
Yeah, there's absolutely 0% chance he's going to get a $25 million NIL deal to come back next year.
If I was getting $5 million or whatever in the NFL, I'm going to make $10 million. I'm probably doing one more year of college. Why not do one more year of a little bit polishing, another year of polishing? Now, it's hard to see that when you are that's, and if I was 21, 22, 23, ain't no way I would even think like that. But now, sitting here a little bit later, you could, there's no way, unless you're getting drafted in the top 5, you're going to be able to improve your draft stock. And not saying that he won't be drafted in the top 5 because he very well could be, but I think there's more and especially if you want to bring a national championship to Ohio State, then there should be no question.
Well, the more you play, though, there's more chance or more time and opportunity for people to poke holes in your game.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And a lot of times that mystery of somebody that's only played like one season, like a Trey Lance or something, or Anthony Richardson, it's like, hey, I can see something there and I can take that and I can turn it into this.
Whereas like I got IR players.
A lot of information, a lot of data here, and thinking, well, I don't think he's going to be something great, so I'm just going to pass on him.
Yeah, but it doesn't take, you don't got to watch very much of Marvin Harrison Jr. to know that he's going to be a great wide receiver. In fact, the higher. I feel like his draft stock goes outside of injury, but I honestly has injuries, unless it's a huge injury, it really hasn't hurt their draft stock that much after they fully recovered,
Yeah. I mean, if it's something like an ACL, kind of like Jameson Williams, but he's still, was a top 10, top 12 pick when he came out. So, I mean, it's one of those things, like, I don't know if there's a ton of injuries outside of, like, a career-ending one that could really drop him too low. But, again, I don't know if...
Look at Tua. Look where he got drafted in his hip injury.
Fifth or whatever it was. Like, so it's... I mean, Jalen Smith is the one example people keep going to because he's basically the only one that really had a substantial injury that really drastically affected his draft stock. A lot of other guys have been... not as affected nearly to that extent.
Tajay Spears doesn't even have an ACL in one of his kneecaps.
Well, you can't tear it if you don't have one, right?
Yeah, I guess so. Works out well for him. You're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. This is ESPN Northwest Florida. 2 more segments to go. When we return, we'll talk a little fantasy football, and you will find out our new champions for the Champions League next year.
Take ESPN Northwest Florida with you everywhere you go.
Anytime, anyplace, anywhere.
The sports talk and live play-by-play doesn't have to end when you get out of the car. The ESPN Northwest Florida app streams your favorite sports talk hosts and the biggest games in ultra-high fidelity.
This is of utmost importance in travel.
Take the sports talk monster with you anywhere you go. Available for Android and iPhone.
Use it anywhere or any place.
Good evening. This is Joanna with your weather forecast from ESPN Northwest Florida on this Tuesday. Partly cloudy tonight with a wind at 11 miles per hour out of the east-northeast and a low of 47. Tomorrow morning, look for a moderate breeze and mostly sunshine with a temperature near 58. In the afternoon and evening, a high around 62 and partly cloudy. Thursday, quite warm with a high of 64 and mostly clouds. This weather forecast is brought to you by Ellis Agency Insurance. Thank you for tuning into ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Are you tired of hearing 2 weeks when you call to get your boat worked on? Hey folks, it's Chris Kramer with Kramer Marine and Outdoor, and we'll get you in and back out on the water as quick as possible. We're a full-line Yamaha outboard dealer and Suzuki outboard dealer, and we have master-trained certified mechanics on site. So if it's just an annual service, electronics install, trolling motor install, or all the way up to a full repower, we can take care of you. So stop by and see us in the corner of Frankfurt and 23rd next to Bill Kramer GM, or call us at 850-851-0453.
Los Rancheros has been doing it right for 20 years. Los Rancheros brings a top-shelf dining experience to you with the opening of their beautiful new building. Watch all college and pro games on Los Rancheros' 14 large-screen TVs with great drink specials daily from 2 to 5 and during all the games. Los Rancheros, the place for live sports and great food on 23rd Street between Jenks and Harrison.
It's go time all the time. Sports talk around the clock.
Oh my gosh!
Now back to the Afternoon Underdogs. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
And we are back. It is the Afternoon Underdogs, and you're listening to ESPN Northwest Florida 104.3 here in Panama City, 101.9 in Port St. Joe. I'm David Hayes along with Tyler Bishop and Caveman Rick. No Gator J this afternoon because Gator J is not feeling well, so we'll have him on with us Thursday getting you guys ready for the fantasy football week. But congratulations to our listeners who made the playoffs and will comprise the Champions League next year. From the Afternoon Underdogs, it was Team McLovin, who's owned by Barrett, Love Pack, owned by Chef Ross, Studs and Duds, owned by Clayton, and Swamp Thing, owned by Kyle. In the Inside Drive League, it was Brittany Fleming, who Her name is Brittany Fleming. So I just went with her team name. Yeah, exactly. Keith's wife, who also made the playoffs. You down with ADP, Keith Fleming. You can hear his segment on the Inside Drive Wednesdays from 12 to 12:40. You also had Car Crash, which is Travis Peterson, and 23 and Me, which is Gavin. In the Coach James Hill Show, which seemed to be a theme of teams just having their team names their name. Easy, exactly. Right? So Coach James Hill Show League, Jonathan Garrett was your overall leader. Richard Youngblood was in second place. The Oregon Ducks, owned by Dave Neat and Team Bobby Stavos. And in the Champions League, who will stay in this league, it's Luck Ran Out, owned by Tim Reed. Hertzbreakers, owned by Dalton Cope. Big Nick Energy, owned by Nick Baldwin, and Team Chris Purser. So those guys will all be moving on to the Champions League next year. And in the Afternoon Underdogs, your winners bracket, your playoff bracket, Studs and Duds will be taking on McLovin, and Love Pack will be taking on Swamp Thing, which is Kyle Albritton. And in the Coach James Hale League, Team Stavos taking on Team Garrett, and the Oregon Ducks taking on Team Youngblood. In the Inside Drive League is going to be 23 and Me taking on Brittany Fleming, and Car Crash taking on You Down with ADP. And in the Champions League, which is going to be 16 teams next year, Team Purser taking on Luck Ran Out, and Big Nick Energy taking on Hertzbreakers. Thank you guys so much for playing along with us this year. If you'd like to play fantasy football next year, make sure that you're listening during the off season. We'll start announcing around July for the we'll do a live fantasy draft. We don't know where we're going to have it. If you're a business and you'd like to host our fantasy draft, then let us know at 850-215-6290. But always keep it locked into the Afternoon Underdogs weekdays 4 to 6 to find out what we've got going on here at the station.
I just want to treat this as a press conference right now and talk about my team, Troglodyte Dynamite. We're making some changes during this offseason since we're not making the Champions League. So be on the lookout if you're a fan of that team for some big changes coming on for next season, because I'm pretty upset that I didn't make the Champions League being in the league ever since the inception.
Where can the fans buy the merch for that?
Troglodyte Dynamite.
That's at my Facebook page at Rick Wyndham.
And there you go.
Have you ever been in a 16-team league?
No, not 16.
God. So I used to be in a 16-team league. My brother started. It was a two-man keeper league, and that got thin quick.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, you're in like the fifth round. You're like, oh my goodness, there is nobody here left worth.
Right.
You're taking flyers on guys in like the 8th round, 9th round. You start comparing that to like a 10 or 12 man league. You're like, man, this team sucks.
It shows how good you are though as a manager.
Yeah, no, it definitely takes a lot of skill. You got in a lot of luck. Like the guys who get lucky with injuries typically always end up towards the top of the pack, and then obviously the ones unlucky with injuries, they end up typically towards the bottom of it.
Or the guys that are good at the waiver wire.
Yeah, that's true. But it gets tough. If you've never been a 16-team, it's thin.
Yeah.
Real quick.
Dude, a lot of our leagues this year were very close. I think the Inside Drive League was the closest by far. It was like the best record in the league was 9-6, and the worst record was 6-8. 6-9, whatever.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's competitive, I guess.
Very competitive. I think I finished last in the Coach James Hale League. Well, not I finished last, but my namesake next to the team name finished last there. But yeah, it's always a lot of fun. I mean, the best part of these leagues is no doubt the live fantasy football draft, man. I think that might be the best part outside of maybe winning the league if you do end up winning the leagues, though. So yeah, that'll do it for our fantasy. Well, we still got our playoffs. So we'll still be doing some updates, but congratulations to all of those who will be moving on to the Champions League next year. What's been one of the biggest things you've learned from the NFL this year? Or one of the biggest things that stands out to you?
I mean, obviously the quarterback injuries have been a major topic of discussion, like just how many starting quarterbacks have gotten out for either extended time or the rest of the year in a lot of these guys' cases, but like just how bad quarterback play is in the NFL right now. I mean, and not just because of the backups playing, but I mean, how many guys, even like Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes, are looking inconsistent from week to week?
Yeah.
I mean, Derek Carr went to New Orleans and I'm not saying he was ever great in Vegas, but he's not.
We expected
more
to
standard. I mean, Russ Wilson, we kind of saw with him last year. He's had a little bit of bounce back year this year. But, people say, like, is there really only, is a guy like Patrick Mahomes worth the money's worth? But, like, there's only a handful of guys on the planet at any one time that can play at an NFL elite level. And I think that's kind of shown as much this year as any year. And I think that's why we've seen some major upsets. I think that's why we've seen some inconsistent teams. And I think that's why, it's not surprising that the Titans beat the Dolphins last night, because when you got inconsistent quarterback play, then you had injuries on top of that. Recipe for upsets every time. And you keep thinking, and we keep talking, we talked about this before on the show, like, next year's the year for quarterbacks in the draft. Next year's the year for quarterbacks. We keep saying that, but they're not coming anywhere. Like, I'm not seeing them. I mean, they're not there. And
we got one more go here with Caleb Williams and Drake May.
But this is really the year you want to need a quarterback, and it's kind of showing you, if you don't have a quarterback, just how far off you can really be. And but even the guys who have quarterbacks just haven't been consistent. And maybe it goes back to what Tom Brady was saying a few weeks ago about the development not being there, and who, we can get into the philosophical conundrums of where the development comes from along the way, from little league to high school to college and now to the NFL. But yeah.
All right, we've got Ethan on the line who wants to talk a little fantasy football. Go ahead, Ethan. What do you got for us? We ain't got nothing from Ethan. Hey, go ahead and drop it. There we go. There you go. All right. So how about a little NFL overreactions here? And you'll decide, Tyler. I'll decide along with you here. Yep, there we go. We'll decide here of these overreactions, or is this is it right on line? The Bills will be the most dangerous team in the AFC playoff field. If they're not, if you don't think that they'll be the most dangerous team in the playoff field, who do you think it would be?
Ooh, man, that's tough, because they've got the combination of guys on defense, the skilled players on offense, and a quarterback who can be that guy. So it's hard to say they're not, but they just haven't typically executed in the bigger games. I think I'm going to go with the Ravens right now.
Yes.
I think I'm going to go with the Ravens right now. I mean, Lamar Jackson, when he's healthy and exciting, it can be great. Those receivers are starting to step up a little bit. I know they have no Mark Andrews, but John Harbaugh's proven he can win the big games. I mean, he hasn't won them in a while, but even last year with Tyler Huntley, they almost beat the Bengals in the playoffs. I just trust Harbaugh as a coach more than I trust McDermott. So it's hard not to say the Ravens right now.
And if we can say this, we're past week 12 and he's still healthy.
Knock on whatever you want to know.
Now they've Mark Andrews not in the game, but Isaiah Likely has been a great replacement, and we saw that last year. So we know that he's definitely capable of that. I love their running back room, because they've got even though they don't have the superstar name, they have three different running backs who run with three different styles, which makes Lamar Jackson even that much more dangerous. And then we saw from this past week, I mean, they have that, take it back to college football, but they have that it factor. They have that get it done no matter what. They have that Florida State, how they would get games done this year.
Yeah.
Just because it wasn't always pretty doesn't mean that they weren't getting the job done. And that's the same way with the Ravens, where there has been, that Ravens game against the Lions, they absolutely obliterated the Detroit Lions in that game. But they've also had this last one, right, against the Rams, which might have been one of the most entertaining games of the NFL season to this point. And how does it end? In a Tylan Wallace punt return for 67 yards or whatever,
walk-off punt return touchdown.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm right there with you. I would say that the Ravens are the most dangerous team in the AFC playoff field. What about for you, Caveman Rick?
Well, when you're thinking dangerous, it's going to be a team we're thinking that you probably don't want to play, that maybe shouldn't be there. Is that what we're going with?
That's you can use that, but we were just saying the most dangerous team in the AFC playoff field.
If you're an AFC team, what's the one?
Yeah, I would probably go with the Ravens in that case. But I was thinking the team you probably don't want to play the most might be the Bills, and they make it in just because of the woes that they've had, and they got a really good team. They have been putting it together, but they got the talent that if they get their stuff together and have a good game, you're going to get beat because they can put points up.
The team I would say is, and they're not in a playoff position right now, so you couldn't count them, but it would be the New York Jets.
Aaron Rodgers coming back?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if they find themselves in a position, I think they're about 2 positions out of a playoff spot right now. But you could see Aaron Rodgers. I'm just saying.
I just don't see it coming back this late. I just don't see him being in form and being able to play like to a Super Bowl caliber level.
I will say a team that could maybe be kind of more to where Rick was going with most dangerous. The Broncos.
Oh, yeah.
You get a team, Super Bowl winning quarterback, Super Bowl winning head coach, granted not together, but that defense, they do have the skill players on the outside. Like, if they could get hot at the right time, they could be a team you don't really want to play either. I'm not sure where they're falling in the hunt order right now. But
be like a Giants team that makes it as a wild card to beat the Patriots 2 times or something.
Yeah, I mean, they'd be a team that I could see like, oh, wow, this Broncos team may be starting to do something.
Will the NFC playoff field have multiple teams with losing records?
I'd say no by the end of the season. I think you're going to have 1 probably, but not 2.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's highly likely the NFC South winner is kind of right there, that 500 or just below. But I mean, outside that, we'll get 2 out of the East. We'll get probably 2 winning teams out of the West, 1 out of the South, maybe and then at least 1 winning team out of the North. We could be close. It could be close.
Because right now you've got, all right, obviously the NFC East, you got the Cowboys and the Eagles at 10-3, so no chance there. Detroit Lions at 9-4.
So they'll be a winning record guaranteed.
Basically the whole NFC South outside of the Panthers is sitting at 6-7, and then the West at 10-3. But the Rams and the Seahawks sitting at 6-7. So when you're looking at it from the wild card positioning,
going to be at least one of the teams from the West probably, which are sitting right there, and then maybe the Packers are getting close.
The Packers are in the 7th seed right now, and they're sitting at 6-7. So you could very well see, because of the NFC South, two teams.
What's going to be really hilarious is somehow they end up like playing each other in the NFC title game.
There you go, man. I mean, that again, when the Giants took down the Patriots, and again, the NFL college football, but this is why we play the game, and what happens on the field should matter more than what our thoughts are, because this is what every sport, it doesn't matter what it is. Boston Bruins last year, we could have just wrapped the Stanley Cup up and gave it to Boston, but they didn't. You know, and they got bounced in the first round by the Florida Panthers.
How President's Trophy winners usually go.
Okay, Atlanta Braves. Atlanta Braves this last year had one of the better regular seasons, hit a ton of home runs, and
played not meaningful baseball the last 6-7 weeks of the year, and that probably would might have cost them the playoffs.
Right, exactly. I'm just trying to overwhelm the point that Florida State should have been in the college football playoff, and I feel like it's my duty as an Alabama fan to do that.
And maybe the ACC should have voted for the extended playoff.
There you go.
Maybe Florida State should have said the ACC was a tougher conference and it wasn't a joke, and they wanted out.
That didn't help them either, I'm sure.
There's a bunch of there's a bunch of tentacles to that octopus right there. The Eagles are not good enough to get back to the Super Bowl this season. Let's start off with Caveman Rick here.
That's ludicrous.
No, it's not. Come on.
We were there. I mean, we got the talent to be there. I mean, we've gone through this gauntlet of a lot of tough teams. We're 10-3. Up until that point, we had lost 1 game, and that was like a bad game against Washington where we shot ourselves in the foot and turned over the ball 4 times in that game. Anybody should lose that game if you do that kind of stuff to yourself, you know? So, I mean, no, I think we got every chance in there. And look how we were just talking about how weak the NFC is. I mean, if you're thinking that they don't have a chance, I mean, I don't know what you're smoking.
Yeah.
No, I'm not saying that they don't have a chance. I'm saying that they're not good enough to get back to the Super Bowl.
Or not good enough, same thing. But, I mean, yeah, they're good enough to go there. Definitely.
What about you, Tyler?
Oh, yeah. I mean, they're definitely good enough. I mean, any team that makes the playoffs is going to be considered good enough to make the Super Bowl. That's the whole point of the playoffs. I mean, they've got to be probably the number. I mean, it's probably San Francisco's the odds-on favorite, and then Dallas and Philadelphia are probably right there, very similarly ranked. Or Vegas odds-wise, probably plus 375 or whatever it is to win the NFC at that point. So, I mean, they're definitely good enough. Hurts has proven he can win the big games. They've proven, Sirianni's proven he can coach well in the big games, and I think that's a thing people forget is like teams who know how to win big games don't forget how to win big games.
Yeah.
And teams who haven't won big games don't always learn how to do it the first time around. So, but granted, I mean, you know, the Shanahan's made the Super Bowl with the Niners, McCarthy's won a Super Bowl with the Packers, so those guys all know how to do it once they get there. So it's going to be fun to watch. I think it's going to be a great three-way race going down the stretch.
All right. For me, I'm right there with you guys, though. I think it's an overreaction. I think the Eagles are good enough to get back to the Super Bowl. But the 49ers are going to be a stronger force this year. The Cowboys are going to be a stronger force this year, too. I mean,
how big do you think home field advantage is to be in the NFC with those three teams, though?
Well, I think the most important thing to watch, home field advantage is going to be huge. Who benefits the most from home field advantage?
I think the Cowboys right now, because they're like the Rams playing on a track, like, greatest show on turf kind of thing. And if they're playing outside inclement weather or not on that track, that's turf, I think they're going to have some issues.
I kind of think it's Philly. I mean, if you're talking Philadelphia in mid to late, January, the kind of style of ball that they like to play, like, that would be a tough team to go in and beat, especially with those fans. Those fans are crazy. So you're adding like legitimate college style home field advantage plus the weather plus their style. Granted, that the Niners like to play some good bully ball also, but I think Philadelphia and Philly could end up being the biggest home field advantage if they pull it off.
Ooh, I like that too. What I like more than anything is Caveman Rick's answer, saying that it was Dallas, because it was a very objective answer,
look
though.
At how they're playing
exactly
right now. They're blowing teams out at home. So I mean, if you're consistently doing that, I mean, you're a front runner team at home. You're doing well. On the road, you're not so hot. That just tells you a lot right there.
Try to commend a man on his answer, and he just tries to over-explain it again. No, I'm just kidding.
He didn't really want to give any recognition to the Cowboys. He just tried to analyze the facts. That's all he wants to do.
Exactly.
All right. You're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. We've got one more segment left to go. You're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. This is ESPN Northwest Florida.
Set your alarm clock to wake up with the Coach Hales Show on ESPN Northwest Florida. In-depth local and college sports from expert insiders and a dash of controversy.
Can be deadly.
Weekday mornings 7 to 9.
Nothing says good morning like a drunken human alarm clock.
You're live from the J. Michaels studio.
We all know he loves the Florida Gators, but that's okay.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
I can control the world.
Good evening. This is Joanna with your weather forecast from ESPN Northwest Florida on this Tuesday. Partly cloudy tonight with a wind at 11 miles per hour out of the east-northeast and a low of 47. Tomorrow morning, look for a moderate breeze and mostly sunshine with a temperature near 58. In the afternoon and evening, a high around 62 and partly cloudy. Thursday, quite warm with a high of 64 and mostly clouds. This weather forecast is brought to you by Ellis Agency Insurance. Thank you for tuning into ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Hey folks, Chris Kramer with Bill Kramer GM. And the best place to listen to the Inside Drive with Ryan Mulvey is inside a brand new vehicle from Bill Kramer GM. And I want you to know we've got 10 times the amount of inventory on the ground as we did this time last year, and darn near all of them are discounted. So shop us online at BillKramerGM.com or visit us the corner of Frankfurt and 23rd. We'll make it easy and take great care of you.
PCB Hobby, the beach's premier hobby store for sports cards, comics, coins, and trading card games. PCB Hobby carries the largest selection of boxes and packs from the latest releases of brands like Topps, Panini, Leaf, and more. Looking for a specific player or team? PCB Hobby has a wide assortment of raw and graded cards. They carry parallel rookie, game used, and autographed cards in both modern and vintage. Have a collection you want to sell? We buy, sell, and trade. PCB Hobby on Back Beach Road, just east of Florida Linen. Call 850-320-8388.
It moves fast. The High School Spotlight. Weekdays at 5:40.
Let's do it.
Sponsored by Barbaritos. ESPN Northwest Florida.
And we are back for the final segment of the afternoon here on ESPN Northwest Florida. I'm David Hayes along with Tyler Bishop and Caveman Rick. You can give us a call or text today at 850-215-6290. This segment is brought to you by Barbaritos. Visit Barbaritos on 23rd Street. Tell them that the Underdog sent you. Barbaritos, food, community, people. In our games from last night here in the local area, Arnold beat Bay in boys high school soccer 3-0. In North Bay Haven shut out Navarre 5-0. In girls high school soccer, it was Freeport shutting out Rutherford 3-0. And South Walton over Choctaw 5-1. In boys high school basketball, Bluntstown beat Wakulla 66-62, and it was Lincoln over Franklin 67-43. In girls high school basketball, Liberty over Weewall 49-28. All right, Justin Fields. Justin Fields, will he be a starting quarterback in 2024? Not just for the Bears, but a starting quarterback in the NFL next year.
The Bears and what they do or do not decide to do with Justin Fields will ultimately decide how much fun the 2024 draft ends up being. Because they could easily decide to go all in on Justin Fields this year, draft Marvin Harrison and Brock Bowers, right? And then all of a sudden that offense looks crazy with Kmet, Bowers, DJ Moore, Marvin Harrison Jr., and, Roshan Johnson and Khalil Herbert, right? Like, all of a sudden, that's a fun offense.
Yeah.
Or they could choose to go the Caleb Williams, and then they end up trading Justin Fields, I guess, at that point. That becomes because
then what do you get for Justin Fields?
And do you get enough for Justin Fields to trade him at that point? And then at that point, do you want to have both of them? I feel like that creates a really weird locker room dynamic.
I don't know. Maybe the Browns should go after him. Just go ahead and give him like a $250 million guaranteed contract.
So I'm going to say, as of right now, I'm going to say the Bears hold on to Fields for one more year, surrounded with guys. Worst case scenario, they get somebody like a Ewers or something like that the year after that, but with a more established playmakers on offense, and gives them a better chance to succeed right away. So I'm going to say he starts for Chicago next year.
I'm going to say he starts. I don't know if it's Chicago, but it'll be someplace, because even if they move on from him, somebody will give up like a ham sandwich for him, and they'll get him, and then they'll try to turn him into something, So
where would you most want to see Justin Fields go?
That's what I was thinking. That's what I'm over here thinking. Minnesota, but what are they going to end up doing with Kirk Cousins?
They're going to trade in division, probably.
Dude, you know where I would like to see Justin Fields?
Maybe Carolina, backing up, Bryce, and then you have both of them.
You know where I would take him?
Where?
Tennessee Titans.
Yeah, you think so?
Yeah, I would be fine with Justin Fields.
Kirk Cousins.
I mean, I'm fine with Kirk Cousins too, but the sand runs out of the clock a little bit quicker with that one.
Atlanta
would be
much more. I mean, he's kind of like, he's athletic, like Arthur Smith seems to like him. Ritter and Mariota, both athletic guys. He's from
Mariota's
the state.
in Philly now.
Well, but
yeah, same thing. Gotcha.
He from the state of Georgia. Could be a homecoming of sorts. They get him relatively cheap. They don't have to draft a quarterback now. They'll end up with a top 12 pick and go somewhere else with it.
I think he weaponizes Atlanta even more so because they have weapons over there, but Desmond Ritter is nowhere near dynamic as what Justin Fields is. I mean, and we've seen stretches of progression. It just never starts well, though.
Yeah.
I think San Francisco might be a good place. He might be the Trey Lance that Shanahan was looking for and be that kind of player in that mold, running.
I don't think they're going to do that with Brock Purdy.
Right?
He's everybody wants to throw all these roses to Brock Purdy, but what have we seen in Kyle Shanahan's systems? It's pretty much any quarterback you throw in there is going to have success, especially with all those weapons that are around him. Throw Brock Purdy onto the Steelers and see what kind of success he has.
You're right. That's 100%. But they're getting the success for a discounted price. So why would they go after a quarterback who's going to cost them way more and possibly have the same success?
Fails, it's like, well, you had why? If it ain't broke, don't fix
it.
He's
still on a rookie deal. It's not going to cost him a lot,
Yeah, I mean, it's going to cost him a lot more than what Brock Purdy's rookie deal does.
Sign him, he hasn't done enough where you have to command a big contract, so you're still saving money.
What I'll say is, could Justin Fields look good in Kyle Shanahan's offense? Absolutely. I just don't think that the 49ers would do that because of Brock Purdy, though.
They think Fields may look good, but they know Purdy does.
Like the Titans, I don't think they would do that either, because if they're feeling any type of connection with Will Levis, then it would be a disservice to Will Levis for the Titans to draft or make a move for another quarterback that is not being brought in any other fashion than being the backup.
That's saying your quarterback's weak, though. Like, look what happened with Aaron Rodgers when they drafted Love. It lit a fire in his rear end, and he went out and won an MVP.
I mean, I'm not saying.
Yeah, but there's a total. But they didn't. But when they drafted Jordan Love and it lit a fire under Aaron Rodgers, which I'm not saying that it didn't, but Aaron Rodgers was already the quarterback of that team. So it's a little different situation when you're the rookie quarterback because your confidence is vulnerable at that point in time. You know what I mean? Yes, you want to see him win the job and win the competition, but if you're going to be serious about him, then you let his offseason be as stress-free as possible.
I will say, similarly to the 49ers, of the Rams with Sean McVay would be kind of a fun team to watch him go to as well.
That would be, that would be pretty good.
See what he could do with some Justin Fields back there, quarterback.
What do you think the Raiders end up doing?
I mean, they're going to probably end up with a bad enough pick. They could maybe
draft somebody.
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, because they probably don't stick with Aiden O'Connell.
It's really going to depend on who their head coach ends up being, and
yeah,
that will end up connecting a lot of dots as far as the style of offensive coordinator they bring in, or if he's an offensive guy, the style of quarterback that he plays with or has coached historically, that will end up playing a little bit. It's just because without knowing what their head coach situation is going to look like, but I mean, they could easily anybody. I just would not be shocked if Justin Fields is still a Bear this time next year.
I'm right there with you. I think that if you're the Bears and you have those top 2 picks, you can use those, like you said, to get some more weapons for Justin Fields. And then if it doesn't work out, well, you've already built this team full of weapons, so now you could be in that position where you're really a quarterback away.
Get him some more protection maybe, too.
Yeah.
Instead of
either
weapons.
Definitely. I mean, that's really what I want to see the Titans do this year is build those trenches back up. Because every time that the Titans have really every team when they're playing some of their best football, especially when they're not expected to, is because they've built that offensive lineup to where they're not taking a bunch of sacks and the quarterback has some time and the running back has some room, and then the defensive line helps every other level of the defense whenever they're putting pressure on the quarterback.
It's amazing how simple football really is. If you look at any game, the team whose offensive line and defensive line plays better, typically the team's going to win like 99 times out of 100.
Right.
Like it's really that simple. We get so caught up in the quarterbacks and the running backs and the wide receivers and the pick sixes and everything. Like, watch the trench play and you'll be able to tell the better team 9 times out of 10.
Yeah,
like
no
it's that simple.
And that's why the Cowboys could be pretty scary this year. I mean, to lose a guy like Trayvon Diggs.
But the Bland showing up.
That's what I'm saying. To lose a guy like Trayvon Diggs and then Deron Bland just come in and set records, it really goes to show how kind of strong the defensive side of the ball is.
Yeah.
And then when you've got Dak clicking with his wide receivers, and I think Brandon Cook has been an underrated pickup for them, because what did we talk about a few years ago, 2 years ago, whenever Amari Cooper took off to go to Cleveland? Man, CeeDee Lamb was a lot better when he had Cooper on his other side. Well, I don't think Brandon Cooks is necessarily Amari Cooper, but he has added, yeah, exactly. He's added that element of giving CeeDee Lamb a little bit more room, and kudos to Dak Prescott, man. Like, just because he's one of those guys who gets it every single year. Oh, Dak's not one of the top 5, but Josh Allen is. But when he sits here and he's having a year like he is, yeah, you get some people like Max Delighten earlier saying, oh, Dak Prescott should be the MVP, but it's not very loud. And he's having a great year this year. So my question, I guess, Tyler, who would you have as the MVP frontrunner right now in the NFL?
Oof, man.
I think last night's game, I'll start with it and then toss it off to you. I think last night's game proved how big of a factor Tyreek Hill is to the Miami Dolphins.
Agreed.
And if you take Dak off, I'm not saying that the Cowboys aren't as good without Dak, or that they would be as good without Dak, because I don't know if any quarterback or if any team is as good without their starting quarterback, but we're still talking about the Kansas City Chiefs not have and the lack of Tyreek Hill and how they don't have and we're talking how good Tua is. Look how good Tua is, and Tyreek Hill's over here with 1,500 yards this year. If Tyreek Hill doesn't miss a lot of time due to this injury, if he only misses, let's just say, that last game, and he gets over 2,100 yards, it would be a disservice to football for Tyreek Hill, because he's the most valuable to his team.
Oh, I agree 100%. I mean, you could look at any team and kind of like you were just saying, like the quarterback is the most important player on any team, and that's fine. But like that doesn't necessarily mean he's the most valuable player. Like, I know that kind of sounds like counterintuitive, but like I just wish that we could get out of the sense that MVP has to be a quarterback award. I mean, if a guy's having an amazing season, I have no problem giving it to a guy. But like I agree 100%. I think Tyreek Hill does not get enough press for MVP, even if he does hit that 2,000 yards, especially, breaks the record, breaks Calvin Johnson's record, like what he means to that offense, and you can just see in their production. Like you said, they've been talking about, like, the Chiefs won a Super Bowl, and people were still wondering, like, why don't they still have Tyreek? Like, they still did it, but he's that good, and he's just that unique as a player. Just the way, like, his acceleration is so unprecedented. It almost seems like from that position, from a guy who catches the ball that well. But no, I mean, I'd have no problem with Dak winning. I'd have no problem with a few quarterbacks winning, but I think Tyreek should be getting much more publicity for MVP than he's getting.
Yeah, definitely Tyreek Hill for me. I've been saying it for weeks now. You talked on it, Dave, about, like, imagine if he was still with Kansas City, how good that team would be right now. You take them off the Dolphins, and you see the woes that they're having. They're beating the teams with losing records. They can't really beat teams with winning records. You take him off the team, now you're going to be losing a bunch of games to losing record teams too. So Tyreek Hill all day.
Yes, sir. Titans or the Giants? Both of those teams won on Monday Night Football last night, and I'm not entirely sure on what the Giants' record is, but they're a little bit closer to the playoffs than what the Titans are right now as I'm pulling up what the Giants' record is, and they're sitting at 5-8. So same as the Titans, and they're they're just one game behind everyone in the NFC for that 7th playoff spot, and the Titans now trail the Jaguars by 3 games for the AFC South, and they trail the Colts by 2 games for the final wild card spot in the AFC. So Titans or Giants have a better shot to make the playoffs?
I mean, I think it's easy to say the Giants just because we were talking about in the last segment that there may be 2 teams with losing records in the playoffs. The wild card, one game back versus 3 games back. I'm not sure I'd necessarily pick the Giants to beat the Titans head-to-head, but I think the Giants have the easier path. And it's funny right now we're talking about the Giants being a potential playoff team when 6 weeks ago people were wondering if Daboll would be fired after this year. Like, he took them to the playoffs last year, won a game, and people were, they were playing that bad that people thought he may get fired this year. Mm-hmm. And now they're 1 game out of the playoffs. I mean, if he takes them back to the playoffs this year, that's got to be one of the better mid-season turnarounds that we've seen from a team that just has no quarterback. The offensive line play has been poor. The weapons aren't really there. I mean, Saquon's great, but outside of that, what else do they have?
Jalen Guyton, it was supposed to be Jalen Hyatt. Yeah. Wait, Guyton might be with the Chargers. So Jalen Hyatt. Yeah, so you got Jalen Hyatt over there. You got Isaiah Hodgins had a touchdown catch last night. But yeah, I mean there's not Darren Waller.
Daboll's proven man, this guy is a pretty dang good coach.
Yeah. And, I mean, for Tommy DeVito, the name, obviously you don't know nothing about that, or we don't know a lot about who he is, but that was the first, good chunk of football I watched from them last night. I had no idea he was as fast as what he was.
Yeah, I would say pump the brakes on the Giants. I would say Titans out of the 2, just because the Giants, Tommy DeVito, he's been playing really well. What did we see about a guy a few weeks ago, or about a month and a half playing?
I just think the Giants have an easier path.
Well, I was going to
Giants got Saints.
They have 2 games against the Eagles, so because of that, tough. I'm going to say no. I'm just saying also DeVito, Josh Dobbs, look how great he was for about 5 games, and look what happened to him. So just...
Hey, I said I think I'd probably pick the Titans to beat them at a neutral field. I just think that the NFC is just so much weaker than the AFC. It's going to be easier for the Giants.
Let the coordinators get some tape on DeVito, and we'll see.
Giants have the Saints on the road, Eagles on the road, Rams at home, Eagles at home. Titans have Texas at the house, Seahawks at the house, road against the Texans, and Jaguars at the house.
I mean, I guess listening to it, I think the Titans probably have a better chance because I'm not sure the Giants win another game. But
I don't know.
I don't think the Titans would win enough to make up that 3-game back, but I wouldn't bet on either of them making the playoffs.
Yeah, no doubt. But you know how it goes, man, in the NFL. Those wild card races always come down to the finish. You guys have been riding with the Afternoon Underdogs, Caveman Rick, Tyler Bishop. I'm David Hayes, and we'll be back tomorrow at 4 p.m. Coach James Hill Show is going to be live at 7 in the morning. Following that will be the Inside Drive at 11 a.m. Y'all have a great evening. Paul Feinbaum's coming up next. Just remember, Jesus loves you, and so do I.
ESPN Northwest Florida has the real local fishing report. Hi, this is Tim from Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle.